go.
Yo, what's up, everyone? It's the Back to Square One podcast with myself, Cameron Saunders, and my partner, Moxies.
Hello,
And,
Norbert Bogert.
yep. And a quick shout out before we get started is Wow Wink for the name of our podcast. We forgot to shout him out twice now. And he deserves some love for such a cool name. So, yeah. Today we're going to be talking about the world's invited players. We're going to be going through the bracket. We're going to look at each one based on their seeding. We're going to go in order, and we're going to talk about those players, how they got there, what we expect to see of them, and see how it goes.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. Just for everyone who can see here on the screen, I have the list of the seeds in order, starting with Lucas at the top and scrolling down to Chief Wiggum at the bottom. We're going to start at the bottom and talk with Chief Wiggum. If anyone wants to know, you can go on Goat Format Discord, and in their announcements, they have the brackets, and you can see every player and who they're matched up against. There's also a predictor on there with prizes, so you can do the predictor, and there's 3 metamorphosis that are being given away to whoever gets the most right. So we're gonna start. We're gonna start with down here with Chief Wiggum, who's the last seed. They got their invite from getting first place in the big luxury event that happened a couple months ago. It was a good event. I played in it. It was a fun event. This is him right here. He qualified with Chaos Warrior. He's also got some tops outside of Go format and some in current. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's got it looks like some Hat and Necros format tops, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, that's
Um,
right. That looks like it.
yeah, and those are formats that people consider to be like really skill intensive, and you have to be good at managing resources. So they're kind of like modern goat formats in a way. I think this guy's a good player.
Yes.
It's actually surprising to me that he's only the 56 seed. But
He actually gets the
um,
last seed just because he's never played a Go format tournament, so he has 0 games played, so he automatically gets put at the bottom.
if he has no tournaments and he won the one he was in, I mean that's
Yeah, he's a sleeper pick at the bottom there for bottom seed, and he's won a tournament.
yeah, he's definitely got a lot going for him. I don't know if he's my favorite to win. I mean, I think everyone's favorite to win at this point is probably Lucas. I mean, but I think that this guy will definitely go a lot farther than people would give him credit for being in the last seed. I mean, you're in the world championship anyway. It doesn't really matter at that point how far you go because I mean you've got that little thing you can lord over everyone else. Like, oh yeah, I was in Goat Worlds, but I think this guy's got it. Like,
Yeah. He's also the player who won the Oklahoma Regional in January or February. I'm not exactly sure when it was. January, I think. Yeah, it's in this YouTube video. It says January. He won the event with Chaos Warriors here. I'll have the video up here. But yeah, that'll conclude Jesse. We're gonna move on to the next on our list is a fan favorite, which is Pui. Pui
he
got
is a damage step member with me,
yes,
so
fellow damage step member. So you know what? I'm just gonna tell you how they qualified. I'm gonna let Cam take over. She qualified on DB ladder with an absolutely insane high level, insane record on there, very high win percentage, and has played in multiple of the team events and done well in both. And all around, she's just great, and like it's really good on Panda.
yeah, we ended her DB ladder run. I think 78% win rate, which is
Just insane. That's insane.
once you get to the 1400 rating, most people's win rate. I mean, most people's win rate declines when they get to 4 digits. But I mean, at 1400, you don't expect to carry more than 70%, and that jump from 70 to 80 is huge. And Pui is when Pui first joined Damage Step, all I really knew about them, all I knew about her was that she played Empty Jar, and which is a pretty difficult deck to play. I'm not even sure if she considers it worth taking to Worlds. You'd have to we'd have to see, but she is a strong Empty Jar player, as well as obviously Panda Burn, which both of them are really stupid decks.
Yeah, she's dabbled in Reasoning Gate before too. She's very versatile with alt win decks.
Yeah, and I think Pui is definitely a pretty strong pick to get super far. Just off that alone, like, I mean, not to talk bad about my teammate, of course, but if we were to pull up with Chaos Control or Chaos Warrior, it's not that she can't play them, but they're not her forte. But these alt win decks, like, I mean, Panda Burn's not really alt win, but Panda Burn and Empty Jar, Reasoning Gate, those are really strong picks for her. She's very good at using them, and I think just catching people off surprise with those decks, um, you know, that'll take her pretty far in the tournament.
Agreed, agreed, yeah. Let's move on here to our next player, which is Huawei, who is one of two players to win this year on Go Control, because Go Control is a deck that does not get played nearly as much anymore. He has one of
Yeah,
two
should have been
wins.
three.
Could have been three, should have been three. You could have made that argument. Cameron would know about that. They
Uh,
won the first ever GOAT format 3v3, which we had, and he was on the winning team. Um,
Alongside Lucas and Dingo
and
Sig.
and Digo Sig, yep, it was great, great player, all around nice guy, good with rulings. Part of Team Ring of Destruction, is really loves to play Go Control and
Yeah,
make it work.
and Go Control's a fun deck. I don't blame him. I mean, like, I think Go Control has its merits, and people don't give it enough credit. But
Yeah,
in a world of
he's one of the
Turbo,
people who wants to hold strong on it, so that's good.
yeah,
What do you think
I
is
think
of
he's.
his bracket, or how far he can
Um,
go?
let's see who he's even up against. He's up against LeBounty,
That's a
and
tough draw.
LeBounty. Yeah, that's actually really tough, especially because LeBounty is going to be on Warriors. It's LeBounty. He's the king
The
of
king of
Warrior
Warrior
Incorporated,
Incorporated.
and it's like, um, yeah, that's tough for Goat Control. So I don't know if Wall would play Goat Control, but I mean that's pretty tough for him, I think. So, um, not going to say he can't do it, of course, but LeBounty's going to be tough, I think.
I agree. I agree. Let's move on to next. We have Wing Zero, who got top four at GFC 11. I'm pretty sure he was on Chaos Control.
Yeah. Um, I haven't seen a lot of him play, other than the fact that I know that he got top four there, and I also see him on ladder a bit. And so it's like, I can't tell you exactly how he's going to do, but I mean, if he,
There's not a lot of information on him playing.
yeah, but I mean, he got his top of chaos control, and that's a pretty tough deck to get very far with, like in the current climate.
That's true.
So, I mean, if you can score that with chaos control, I think that you're, I think you're in a good spot.
Yeah, he's got a first place in Ottawa Regionals. It doesn't say what year that was, but
Yeah,
that's still, I mean, winning a regionals is pretty prestigious. So that's nice,
yeah,
and especially in Canada too, because YCSs are a lot harder to go to in Canada if you can't travel. So
yeah,
it's a lot less accessible. So winning a regional in Canada is a bit more meaningful for a Canadian, just because there's a lot less. It's just a lot harder to get to a YCS. So that's pretty nice. Other than that, I'm not really sure exactly. There's not a lot of data on him, so I can't really say. I know his bracket is there's potential. He's up against Blave round one. And he's got Fusion Big Llama. So like it, he's got a side where like there's potential if he is playing good that he could go far or
yeah.
farther. So
Blave is really really good though.
yeah, no, he's definitely got a hard one run matchup. But I'm just kind of like thinking from the perspective like all these bottom seeds kind of got
Yeah,
hard round matchups. So it's like
it just inherently due to being bottom seeded.
yeah, exactly. So other than that, he's Canadian, so I'm gonna say that he's great. Um, next is actually the only person to cash in a legacy invite, which is Cosmic Odyssey Yuan, which he got top 4 in 2005 Indy in goats.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so good for him. He decided he wanted to cash in his legacy invite, and he's been putting in work on his YouTube video. Um, and yeah, he's been practicing hard for it. He did actually just play this last chance qualifier. He was on burn, had some unfortunate matches, but he has been putting in work from what I've heard
Yeah.
to.
And I don't know anything about this guy because I didn't play in 2005, but I do know Comic Odyssey, and they are a huge name, a huge team filled with great players. And well, they were back then. I mean, they're not a team now, but back then, Comic Odyssey, they kind of ran the show, partially. And even though I don't know anything about this guy in particular, other than that he got top 8 in Indy, um, if he's been practicing, if he was there in the beginning and he's been practicing now, and he kind of understands like where to go with the meta. I mean, let's look at who he's up against.
Yes, he's up against Artson.
Yeah, so um, and Arts one is a really good player.
Yes.
So
All these low
um,
seeds got a tough draw.
yeah, um, I can't say for certain, but like I said, coming from back then, I think he might be able to like pull some of that, that memory of how he played back then and combine it with his practice and get in there.
I agree. Let's move on to our next player, which is the legendary Faye, who qualified on Obelisk 6 with Library,
Library.
and it wasn't even really close. They just destroyed that bracket, to be honest. Destroyed that whole academy event in a row.
Yeah,
Also got a second place finish at the GFC Euros on with Team Ring of Destruction. So it hasn't played too much during the year and is relatively new to the scene of Yu-Gi-Oh, but has some good qualifications and is using a deck that a lot of people don't really respect or side deck for. So there's always potential for upsets when you're using a deck that people aren't prepared for, don't know how to play
yeah.
against, and stuff like that. So
At the same time, Library FTK has a tendency to lose to itself. It's the only deck I've really ever seen Faye play like seriously. I know they play other things on ladder, but as far as tournaments go, I mean, I think Faye is probably sticking to Library for Worlds, and that could really be his downfall.
agree. That's
Um,
that's one thing about this bracket being shown too is kind of a little bit harder on some of these alt win decks is if you are not saying some of these players can't play other decks, but if you want to play the deck you're the best at, it gives you the best chance.
yeah,
It's also easier for your opponent to read that and make the right adjustments.
yeah, and his opponent is Thad, Too Fresh,
Yep.
uh, and that's like I don't know much about him either, but I do know being a high seed, he's pretty good,
Yeah.
and
Yep. So that's good.
that I mean that can just be a little difficult for Faye. But then again, Library can also just win and not care.
Exactly. So you never know with this type of deck, the player, if they play the deck at a high skill level and they get some nice RPS wins, they next thing you know, we could have a library FTK GFC or world champion. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah, other than that, let's move on to our next player, which is Crashvolt, Kyle Lopez, who got their invite from first place in the Luxury Winter Championship. They also got a top in the last obelisk of the season. Um, they also, I'm pretty sure, are a Shonen Jump champion.
yeah, it's
Yes.
SJC Seattle 2006.
So that's pretty cool.
So yeah, Crashvolt's good actually. They're currently a finalist in the Marathon event that I was sadly knocked out of recently. Um, they're doing really good at playing these kind of weird decks, especially the mirrors. I think Crashvolt knows a lot about Yu-Gi-Oh. I think that he's good at playing with and against any kind of crazy decks. So I mean, I think he actually has a lot of potential, even being such a low seed. Um, let's look who he's up against. If I can find it.
He's got Dingo.
Yeah, Dingo. I think him and Dingo are kind of on similar levels. Dingo, I think he's probably a better player than Dingo, but Dingo plays a really unfair deck.
That's true. All true. Sometimes that's all that matters.
Yeah. So, um, I think I have actually pretty high hopes for Crashvolt. Um, I think he's one of the lower seeds that has a better higher seed matchup, and and a round one win can carry you pretty far in double elimination.
Yep, that's true. That first win's
So
pretty important.
yeah. I mean, I think Crashvolt has what he's not my like instant first pick for who gets top four, top eight, but at the same time, I mean anyone can upset um, Lucas just because he's won so many events this time doesn't mean he has to win worlds, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And yeah, and so I think Crashvolt actually is like he has a lot of potential for this event.
Okay, we'll move on to our next player, which is Jago. Jago is an Italian player. He got second place at the Patron Qualifier #1 with Warriors. He's also got third place in a GOAT Community Event qualifier. Um, I think I think he's got something else too. I'm not sure, but he plays a lot with the Italian players,
Yeah,
specifically CC Kochi and some of that group. Very
yeah,
good player. I do remember. Oh, this is what I was remembering. Jago lost in the event that he qualified from the for the championship qualifier. They actually went on one of the longest loser bracket runs of any tournament. Something like 7 to 8 wins in a row to make it to
mm,
finals. So that's pretty noticeable.
yeah. That's insane. I don't know anything about Jago. I
He's only
I'll,
played a couple tournaments this year.
yeah. I've never watched any of his matches. I've watched plenty of tournament matches while they go on. I've never watched a single match that he played, but um, being that he plays with the people he plays with, obviously he has something going for me. One's a Patreon qualifier. Um, not just completely unsure on anything about this guy. He could be some sleeper, um, but I mean, probably I would suspect just off of looking at like what he's done. I mean, like 2-2, 3-2 finish would be something. I mean, even that'd be respectable. I'm not sure if he makes it all the way, but
Who's his
like I
first
said, I
round
don't know.
opponent? Jago's got Gibbonation. Yeah, I mean
Yeah, I mean,
that's
Gibby's pretty good.
yeah, that's fair. That's a hard
Yeah, I mean,
side though.
I think that's a pretty even matchup.
That bracket is crazy with Alvarado, Dale, Nano, Lucas, even Rognick. Like
Yeah,
that's a pretty hard stack of 7 players.
yeah, that's a very harsh bracket that he's in, and frankly, I'm not sure he makes it through the winner of. I'm not sure who wins between Anthony and Dale, but I'm not sure whoever wins between Jago and Gibby makes it through that.
Yeah,
So,
that's a tough spot to be in.
yeah,
Um,
that's probably the worst spot you could be in the
yeah,
entire bracket, no matter who wins the previous one.
yeah. Okay, let's move on to next, which is speaking of
Dale
overdose
himself.
right there. Oh, I just did not mean to do what I just did. Okay. So Dale, yeah. So Dale actually qualified from this event from getting second place at the Worlds last year.
Yep.
Um,
I
didn't
don't think he's
really
played in any
what
major
he,
tournaments to
yeah,
any success.
he's played a bunch this year, but like a lot of them he wasn't really playing a deck he
Yeah,
really he was just
he was playing weird
bullshitting.
decks.
Yeah, bullshitting. He was doing it at work. He got disconnected. A lot of stuff. So I don't really count most of that.
Yeah, I played against him in one of the FLCs, and he was on Bazoo Dimension Fusion Burn.
Yeah, she's just having fun, just playing
Yeah,
decks
he's
in
not
general.
playing anything that he's like super serious about, and
But
um,
yeah, he's just one of the storied players of the game.
I was expecting him at first to be pulling up with Chaos Control. Me and him have actually been talking about Worlds quite a bit and thinking about things we can play. I think Chaos Control suits him. He got second with it last year. It's obviously a deck he's very good at. I mean, Dale is Dale. Yeah, he knows Yu-Gi-Oh,
He does.
and yeah, these control decks. I mean, I think they suit him as a player. But you also can't ever know because Dale knows how to play every deck.
Yep, I agree.
Um,
He's got kind of a rough bracket, to be honest, just because of being a low seed. He unfortunately got matched with his own teammate in Anthony Alvarado, so that's kind of
I think
crappy.
Dale. Yeah, I think Dale's better than Anthony.
But
Um,
to be fair though, like
but not by much. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that. I'm not
but
being mean to Anthony here,
no,
but I
no.
mean,
But Dale hasn't been playing a lot, and Anthony's been putting
yeah,
in a lot
yeah,
of work. So like sometimes
that's true.
that matters, right?
Right. Yeah, and especially depending. I mean, I'm sure Dale and Anthony both know exactly what they're pulling up with. You know, but but it can really depend. And they might decide to play something different now they know they're against one another.
That's true. It's all
But
possible. That bracket's
um,
again. That's putting the bracket to death. So
yeah. But the thing is, I think Dale. If Dale beats Anthony, I think he makes it to play against Lucas or well, whoever wins versus
yeah,
Lucas.
I agree. I do think his tough one round is significantly harder. Not even just the fact that Ant's, I think, probably better than the other two on the other side, but your own teammate, they know how you play, they just know a lot more. That just makes that matchup a lot more
Right.
dicey. So I just feel like that round one, if he can win that round one, the round two should be easier.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and then we assume Venano wins round one, and then Lucas beats Venano. I mean,
Yeah, if some assumptions.
things we assume based on previous tournaments, but
But anything
which we
can
can't
happen.
actually
Yeah,
assume.
I
But
guess anything can happen at Worlds. We saw it last year. It was a
yeah,
nuts event.
right. Um, but yeah, I mean, regardless of who you're playing, whether it's Lucas or Venano, you have a tough spot in that one.
Yep.
But Dale and Anthony are both incredibly strong players. They were playing in 2005. And now they're playing in 2021. They've got so much more experience than most people on this bracket.
Agreed.
Um, I mean, Dale is obviously a pick, anyone's pick for Dale to go far.
Yeah, he's one of the people
And
that people have been putting in the predictors, which we'll take a look at the end, just some fun ones. But he's been picked a decent amount to make day two and go far.
yeah, all
Okay,
right,
let's move on
the two
to
pal,
Two
two
Pal.
pally.
Yes, Two Pally, Two Pal. Sorry if you watched this and we butchered your name. I'm sorry. Top four at GFC 14. Was on a little bit of an awkwardy different type of chaos control-ish deck if I remember correctly. It just had weird text that you don't really see anymore, like DD
Yeah,
Designator was in it and stuff like that. Um,
but that stuff can get you far when no one expects it. So
yes. Also is part of the team. I'm gonna butcher this, but Bombay
Bombay and
and
Faccia,
Faccia with
yeah,
Artson. So they practice a lot together, and Michelle Cimino. They all practice together and play together. That's a good three duo. I don't know if anyone else is on that team, but the three of them specifically are all worlds competitors. Good players. They all practice together. And
yeah,
from what it sees here, he's got a top 20 or top 32 in nationals in Italy in 2006. So that's pretty good. So
yeah. In any nationals top is even back then
yes,
when fewer people were there. But I mean, it's nationals, and I mean that obviously makes you a pretty good player. Um, I don't know if I put him above Anthony and Dale or if but because
okay.
your world's is stacked this year. Look at how many people we've got, and it could just be tough for him.
Yeah, so looking quickly, I just do have his deck up. It was actually a recruiter deck, but it had like Barrel in it, Zaborg, and main deck Decree, so it was an interesting, fun deck that he topped with.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, his first round matchup is actually against one of the legends of the scene, which is Chris P. So
yeah,
good old Paropic. So that's an unfortunate draw, round one. Like I know a
yeah.
lot. I
You
know
can
we've said
probably
this a lot of the
expect
time, but this is like a really
a
unfortunate draw.
very unfortunate one. You can probably expect Chris to be playing Chaos Turbo.
That would be an
Um,
assumption, but I'm not sure. That
um,
that would be an assumption though. Yes.
yeah, he did play Chaos Control at last year's Worlds, but he's really been
One Clash of Champions with Turbo.
yeah, and he's just been against Control for a while
Yeah.
because I mean he thinks it doesn't do enough.
So it's kind of
He also
a
likes to
weird
play
one.
Stall Burn. I don't think Chris would I don't think Chris would come to Worlds with Stall because everyone in this tournament knows how to play against decks like that. That's why they're in this tournament.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think Chris is probably going to be pulling up with Turbo, and Turbo can just win from being Turbo sometimes. So Tupal could do the same.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, definitely a hard bracket
um,
for sure to be into.
right.
Yeah. Other than
Moving
that,
on, we got
we got Jerry Kdad, who got third in GFC 13 with Warriors. I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
Goes to the same locals as Krebs in California. Um, let's look up his card here. Oh wow, okay. So he's actually got some other accomplishments for
Yeah,
ARG,
some
Las
ARGs, yeah,
Vegas and Anaheim in good years too. Those are good Yu-Gi-Oh years.
yeah, and ARGs are often considered above YCSs
Oh
in
wow.
terms of
Yeah.
competition.
Young player too. That age is very young to see playing Goat Worlds or just Goats in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
I think we have some even younger players in Goat Worlds right now.
Uh I'm not sure. We'll see it when it comes up, but 21's definitely up there. It's probably near the top.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Jerry. He doesn't play too
Yep.
many tournaments.
I have no clue.
I've heard he's a good player from Ghost Rider and Krebs,
Yeah.
and that he's got his own YouTube channel, Team Chaos 19, I think it's called, and he puts videos up there for current and for goats. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of information on
Yeah. All I can
Jerry.
say is we gotta see.
Let's see where his bracket has put him. Jerry. Oh, okay, against
He's up against KL.
KL93. I will say this over and over again. You'll hear a lot, but KL's a hard draw. One of the better, if not the best, Panda Burn player. Um,
But I also think that KL is probably around the same level as him. KL just played more tournament.
yeah, that's fair.
I don't think KL's better than him. Just you know.
Purely based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really have too much other than to say. He's got an okay bracket. That bracket's definitely like, I mean, all the brackets are hard, but that bracket's probably the one you can think of. Hey, if I'm in a bracket, that's probably one I'd want to be in. Like I have a
Yeah.
decent chance to make it to like the qualifying round, which is round 4. So it's puts you in an okay spot. Um,
Right. And he's
yeah,
playing against the winner of Too Fresh and Faye. If he moves on, be playing against the winner of Alethea versus Giorgio
Wayfarer and
or
Giorgio. Yeah,
Wayfair.
so like there's good players in there. Alefa, yeah, too, is definitely one of the better players in the whole tournament.
Um,
But like if you look at the whole bracket as a whole, you're definitely thinking this is one of the better brackets
yeah,
to
this is a
go
fine
in.
bracket to be in
Yeah,
compared to being where like we were talking about uh,
with Dale
Jago
and yeah,
is.
Jago's
Yeah.
in. Yeah, that's a tough one. Let's
Um,
move on now to a very fun player, which
oh,
is Taz,
Taz,
which has been
who
playing
you may
all
know
year.
better as
Yes,
Tamid Zaman.
there you go. Anyone who's watching this video, he's actually a well-known current player who has decided to keep his identity secret for most of the year for his own reasons. But now that Worlds is out and names do come out, he's uh, he's a current player. He won YCS Rhode Island in 2016 with Phantom Knight, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, he got his invite from tying, splitting first place, whatever you want to call it, in the other luxury event, the PS5 tournament. He split finals with Ghost Rider, earning himself the invite.
Um, has
Yeah.
had a lot of tops and wins on Format Library retro tournaments.
Yes.
He really enjoys playing the 2012 to 2015 era tournaments.
Which is coincidentally a big era that when he played in IRL, he was also topping in and getting
Yeah.
wins in, which is good, funny.
Yeah, he has a lot of results in real life and online, and I think that out of all of these low seed people, other than Dale, uh, this guy is top cut, or not top cut, but he's like he's a top level player among them all.
I agree. I agree. Definitely a sleeper pick for going really far in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I did. This is the first time hearing of him being to Midsamon, and yeah, I found that out like really right before we started recording, and he caught me by surprise. But he's an insane player. Um, 45th seed doesn't really do him justice for how good he is.
No, and he's in. If you can look at his bracket, he's in a not an enjoyable one. Definitely not a good one. Matchup right off the bat against Petran is not a good start. Like, it's a hard one.
Yeah, Petran's really good, but to mids, like I don't think that's super unbalanced or
No,
unfair.
no,
I
it's
mean,
definitely
Petran,
it's definitely fair. Petran hasn't really put in like played a lot this year. He's only played a couple tournaments, which he topped both of them. Um,
yeah,
but he is a GFC and an FLC champion, which there isn't a lot of players who have that title of both. So he's
yeah,
definitely someone you can't underestimate. So it's definitely tough. And then you got Artsin and Ghost Rider in that same bracket. So it's definitely, I mean, Taz could easily make himself go far. There's just some tough competition in that quarter.
right, for sure. I mean, I think you know he's also playing against. We're talking about Juan, he used his legacy invite, um, or or Artsin, whoever wins that. Ghost Rider is obviously a really good player who has done a ton this year. Yeah, that whole bracket's not the worst in the world, but it's also
No,
not the best.
it's just an okay
So,
bracket.
yeah. Um, I would give to mid actually pretty decent chances of going far just because like he understands the game.
He does, yes. He does. He's good. Let's move on to our next one, which is
Big Llama 67. Um,
yes, WZ.
Much like Kui, he qualified through the ladder with Panda Burn. Um, Unlike Kui, I don't know anything about him.
He actually played multiple events this year. He got third in the one of the obelisks, and he also got top six at GFC 11. It, his GFC 11 deck was actually interesting. It wasn't a burn deck at all. It was here. I'm gonna put it up on screen here. It was GFC 11. It was actually Chaos Warrior, except it had like recruiters in it, like Nidoria. There was, or sorry,
Oh yeah,
Tomato,
yeah, I
Nidoria.
remember that deck, and he main mind
Yeah,
controls as well. I
yeah.
remember his match against Wing Zero actually.
It was an interesting. That was one of the better duels we've seen in a long time. Actually, that was a fun one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he's definitely can play a lot. He's definitely switched over to being more um, of a burn player
yeah.
recently.
I
Um,
don't
yeah,
personally. I don't see him getting to top eight because I don't think that decks like that are well suited. I mean, he could not play. He could choose not to play them, but he's a good Panda Burn player. But I also think Panda Burn's not exactly well suited against this field.
no, I
Um,
I agree.
So, I mean, no offense to him as a player. I mean, we can say all day long, oh yeah, this player's good and this player's good. Oh, yeah, you can sleeper picks or whatever. But I mean, like everyone in the bracket is good enough to get top eight. But being realistic, if he's playing Panda Burn, I'm not sure if he'd do it.
I agree. His bracket, I think his bracket actually wasn't. wasn't anything too super crazy again in comparison of brackets because they're all hard, but
Yeah,
he's got Fusion round one, and then the winner of Wing Zero and Young Sexy Blave. So that side, which that
yeah,
four is okay, but then you got Sparky, Pro Weight, and or Carl and SD Killa. Like it
yeah,
just gets it's
yeah.
pretty hard. So
Sparky, yeah. Sparky, Carl, and SDL Killer. That'll be a difficult side. I
yeah,
think all four. And Bao is really good. Bao, Blade, whatever you want to call him. But I don't. I think that out of all four of these names here, Big Llama Fusion, Wing Zero, Bao, I think they're all fairly equal. I mean, I don't. I don't think any of them is like incredibly better than the others. Maybe Bao, but like Fusion and Big Llama. I mean, that's a completely equal matchup. I don't think that Fusion is some god of Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't think Big Llama is either. I don't think, but I definitely don't think they're bad. They're both very good. So, um,
okay, yeah,
you,
that's
you just gotta see how that goes.
yep, I
Um,
agree. Let's move on now to I'm not sure I say
Matzo.
Muzzo.
Yeah.
They got second place at the last GCI Volume 4 that just happened with Panda Burn. They also got top 6 at the most recent FLC with Panda Burn. They potentially could have gotten farther, but unfortunately it was getting late in Italy and they had to just leave the tournament and go to
Mm,
bed.
that sucks. Another Panda Burn player. The deck's really popular this year. Um, but again, it's not something I think is going to take Worlds by storm. His first round is Shogun Lopez, but then he plays against the winner of Labounty and Wawa.
Yeah,
Um,
that side's definitely a little
yeah, and he
hard.
has the world champion himself in this side of it.
Yeah, that's not a fun.
um,
That's not a fun one.
I could see him going if he takes Panda Burn. I'm saying all this stuff assuming they take whatever deck they qualified with. Um, if he takes Panda Burn, I think depending on what Shogun Lopez plays, he'd be fine. After that, though, probably beats Wawa if Wawa's on Goat Control, but not LaBounty if LaBounty's on
Yeah,
Warrior.
see, I was about to say Shogun got his invite from winning GFC 14 on Warriors. So if he sticks with Warriors, I don't think Panda Burn has a very good match. Or no,
No, no, not at
Warriors is a
all.
very hard matchup for it. Like, sure, you can make the argument, oh, Solemn Burn 4K, you win.
Yeah,
But
I
like,
was just thinking that too, but like no, but Warriors, you don't have to play. There's nothing that you have to Solemn in your Panda deck. Is the thing.
yeah, and the fact that Warriors can just put out monsters, so the Geometrio lock isn't really that good against Warriors because they just put out
Yeah,
monsters that are just putting so much pressure on you, and you don't really have a lot of. They also use switch card advantage. You're not getting a lot of good value from Secret
right,
Barrel and stuff like that. So like the matchup's just not very fun. If you're the Panda player, it's just kind of annoying. So the
right. I
fact
mean,
that
you can sit on Blade Knight plus Kaiku, and then you can put your 3-0 Geometrio tokens up. I don't care. I've
yeah,
got what I
exactly,
need.
exactly. So I mean, unless you can really outsmart them to like beta or force a Solemn to put him in that range,
Yeah,
the Warrior matchup is just a pretty hard one. And then there's the fact that if Labounty does win, there's potential that you could play back to back. And then there's even Krebs, who's another really good Warrior player in that bracket. So you got put in a bracket with three Warrior players with potential to play Warrior, Warrior, Warrior. Like I just
yeah,
don't see how
yeah.
you don't lose one of those matches.
Exactly. So that's why I think like all the Panda Burn players are not going to go super far this tournament. I think if they actually choose to stay on Panda Burn because there's so many Warrior players, that deck is just so aggressive and it's able to use all of its cards way better than Panda Burn can. So
It's definitely not a strong or not a great bracket for him. But I mean, from what I've heard, he's a great player. So
yeah,
from my wordings that are from my people that I know in the Italian community, they've said that he's
I feel
a
like all the
strong
Italians
player.
talk and they just get good at Yu-Gi-Oh together.
That's true. I mean, it's a strong community. There's no argument there. So let's move on to our next pal, which
Michel
is
Stamino.
Oh, here we go, and right into another Italian. This is Michelle,
Yeah,
who won FLC 20 with a turbo deck that's kind of esque of 2008 style of mixing some cards that you don't really see anymore. There's like Scapegoat, Meta in there, NA, One Solemn, just cards like that, which is kind of fun.
the one
Um,
Solemn's really strong though.
Very strong.
Like, it's one of those cards where once you're only playing one copy, you don't see it too early, so you don't burn the life points too often, and it seals things that you maybe shouldn't even win.
Agreed. I
And
agreed.
yeah, it just catches people off guard too, because if they don't see a solemn until you're 5 in deck, you know they're not going to be playing around it.
Another member of Bombay and
Gotcha.
Fascia with Artson
Yeah,
and Two Pals, so they work hard with each other. It says here he's a 6-time regional champion from his area. That's don't
yeah,
know
that's
numbers
good.
or anything, but six is
That's
a lot.
ridiculous.
So
This guy is definitely, um, he has a lot of Italian competition from Reclar and from his buddies on his team and everything. And uh, like I think that definitely this guy has what it takes to make top eight. He's absolutely a ridiculously strong player. Um, this guy might even make it to top four just because Turbo is Turbo. If he decides to play that, combined with the fact that he obviously knows how to play this game, um, he's actually got like really great potential in my opinion.
I agree. His bracket, he's got Ivan Flores round one. Here, looking
Um,
at it.
yeah, and Ivan's normally a warrior player, which can be a bad matchup for Turbo. But I mean, it depends on how you build Turbo. And he's what's going to kill him definitely is the bracket that he's in. I mean, you're playing against SJC champion Ivan Flores round one, going into Pui versus
Arc.
James Ark, and then you've got AJT and Chopper, and then Matt Uber on his probably on his Steingate
Stein.
list.
Yeah, it's an interesting
That's
bracket.
actually that's a very tough bracket for him, but I think he can do it. Actually, um,
Agreed.
I,
Yeah,
I
and he's
think
strong player. I
I
played
played
against him
against
myself.
Ivan quite a few times, and Ivan's a really strong player, but I think Michelle's probably on his level.
I will agree with
Um,
that. Yep.
yeah, and probably James and Pui. I mean, I think James is probably better than Pui. No offense to my teammate,
No,
but
I can agree with that, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily matter because the decks
yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah,
Pui brings.
absolutely. Especially if James is playing something like his Chaos Control build and Pui is on Panda Burn, then Pui just wins
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
sometimes.
sometimes it's matchup dependent too, right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's.
So, I mean, I don't think his bracket, like, I think that the quality of player he is, like, this is a bracket where if you gave me some other, like, if I put myself where he is in this bracket, I would say, oh, yeah, I'm going 0-2. But, I mean, I think he can push far. I think he's a super good player.
Perfect. Okay, I agree. Let's move on to. Oh, here's a fun one. Karibo, who got the very last invite for Worlds, not even what days ago, almost a week ago
Yeah,
now.
I have the last chance qualifier on the Zoo Dimension Fusion. I give another deck that I've lost to many times. The deck's just nasty. It's disgusting.
It is. It is
You don't.
disgusting.
Okay, that's the thing. You don't have to be good to win with it. And uh, I mean, you can be good and then win with it, but you don't have to be. I mean, because it wins on its own.
I mean, that's
But
true.
it can also.
Even watching the tournament, Karibo would say himself he didn't play very well, but the deck just
Yeah.
kept winning.
Right. So, if his deck can do what it did at Worlds, or can do what it did at that tournament at Worlds, then he'll go far. If it doesn't, then it won't. I'm not sure about him as a player. Um,
New player or newish to
yeah.
the scene. I don't know if maybe they're not new to Yu-Gi-Oh, but they're new to the Goat scene
Right.
and stuff like that. They've been
Yeah,
really
and most
pushing his deck.
likely, he just got his invite with this deck. He'll probably be playing it again. And that deck didn't do terribly at Worlds last year either.
Oh,
Um, I think like two of them entered, and they both made it decently far.
yeah,
Um,
no, it's fun. He beat good. You know what's funny? He beat some good people. He beat Anthony Alvarado. He beat Insidious, who Insidious himself was trying to get a last second invite, and
yeah,
he beat Lazaro Bolito in the
who was
finals,
also
who
trying to get
was
the last
also
second
trying
invite.
to get a last second invite, who also made top four of Worlds last year. So like
Right.
he beat three very strong players in a row,
Yeah.
So it doesn't. You can't really say like nobody can really say anything. He beat three super strong
Yeah,
players, earned his
he
invite, and it's a fun deck. It's a fun deck to have in the mix if he does go that route.
yeah for sure. Um, obviously, again, no comment on him as a player because I don't know him, but his deck can probably take him very far if it decides to do what it did. So,
Let's see where he's at. I wonder where we're putting him here. He's got a first round matchup against Ivan Rosito, which is not very good. Ivan Rosito just won the last FLC, or sorry,
yeah,
GFC. Has been playing pretty good himself, pretty new to the scene himself, but he's been strong, so that's a solid one. And there's, we got Wiggum, Mark MPS, Geist D, Delinquent, Juve. That's a bunch of strong players in that bracket. So we'll really see him test his mettle here because
yeah.
that's a strong bracket.
All right.
Let's move on
And
to.
let's move on to Juve.
Oh, perfect. We're
Juve
just saying his
89.
name, Juve89, who won his event in Obelisk number 3 after he
Um,
beat me back to back in that bracket to win.
yeah, his
Yeah,
first round
yeah.
is against Geist D, so he will lose.
Oh wow, that's an unfortunate
And
bracket
yeah,
right after
Geist
Delinquent.
is the last person I want to play at a tournament. I would play Chris or Dale before I want to play against Geist.
That's not a fun bracket, but I do know Juve. He's very well connected. He's very popular in Italy.
Yeah,
He has lots of like look at his team. His team is Goat Community Italia.
it's
That's
yeah,
your proof right there. The guy has so many friends and people. I'm sure he's got a whole lab set up to take on Geisty, so he definitely
absolutely.
will be prepared.
And knowing that this bracket isn't going to change, that I mean, you don't know what Geist is going to pull out though. Like Geist played a goat control deck with one Solemn and no Tsukiyomis, and he
Yep.
won an event with it, or got
Yep.
close.
Yeah, Geist is strong. Juve actually qualified his event with Chaos Warriors with no Solemn. He played a very
Yeah, yeah, I
old
recall.
school esque 2005 like Warrior deck before people realized how insane Solemn was. They used to not play Solemn in Warriors, and he decided to play that type of style with his own changes to make it more meta relevant for today, and he won the event with it. He's also been known to play recruiters and other types of decks. He's a very flexible player.
Yeah,
Um, one of the nicest people you will meet in the community too. Just an FYI to anyone listening to this, he is one of the nicest people around. He's personally
yeah. I've
messaged me
talked to
multiple
Juve a
times.
lot.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
not a
great.
lot, but I've talked to him before. He's very well spoken.
Yes, great player, great person. His bracket's a little unfortunate.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to go against Geisty round one. Um, Going right into a Delinquent, and Delinquent is another player you just don't really want to play around like early without knowing information about what's going on because Delinquent can use any deck at any time for absolutely
yeah.
any reason. So you don't want to play these players early because there's no
Sometimes for no
information.
reason.
Yeah, sometimes for no reason exactly, and win with all of them. So
Yeah,
but yeah, let's move on. But yeah, Juve's awesome. So even though his first round's not great, I do think he's a strong player. And if he made top 8, I would not be surprised.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that his first round is going to be very tough because of its Geist D. But if he can win that, I think he can win far more matches. And you know,
Great. Okay.
he can probably win the whole event if he can beat guys like that. I
Oh,
think.
perfect. Next, we're on to a fan favorite, AJT
Hey,
BLS.
AJT is going to win Worlds because he's going to open Pog Greed and Delinquent Duo every game.
He is most famous for being talked about as someone who hacks the system and has the most insane draws you can possibly ever imagine. But if we're
I
talking
think I've
about,
played
yeah,
against AJT well over 2 dozen matches, and in at least 20 of those, he has opened pot and duo all 3 games.
the guy's an absolute menace to the society of Yu-Gi-Oh draws. But most of what we're saying is just memes. He's actually an extremely
Yeah,
strong player, one of
he
the
is.
better warrior players you will play against.
Um, and he's got that mental prowess to it too, because he does so much stupid stuff in games that it's hilarious, and it'll catch you off guard. Like it's his classic slide summon technique.
Yeah,
Um, he'll put Mirror Force to his monster zone and give it to you and make you flip it. Um, he'll pay the 1,000 and pick a card in your hand before sitting with duo. Um,
He's
And you know he has it. You just know he has it.
he's not afraid to play by feel and not by like the game the way that
Yeah,
most players will play. He's definitely, if he's feeling a certain strategy, he'll go for it. A pro set storm, or he'll set 5 spell and traps and there'll be no solemn, and he'll just go, you know what, if you don't have storm, I'm just gonna win because you can't stop 5 spell and traps. And
right.
like he won't do it all the time, but he definitely feels a certain way.
He
He'll
has
do
this, yeah,
something on
he has
feel.
this strong gut feeling that's just almost never wrong. Like he doesn't even make reads; they're just ingrained
Yeah, he's
into how he plays. Like he's not consciously sitting there like, yeah, he used this, so he has this, like most people do. He's just he's just playing, and he's doing it entirely by his internal knowledge of the game. And AJT is definitely a fan favorite to go very far in this event.
I agree. He definitely has potential. His bracket's a little.
It doesn't matter. Bracket doesn't matter. Bracket
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean
matter
his
for
bracket.
AJT.
Yeah, that's true. The guy can just do anything at any time. He's a menace to the what is it, the what am I thinking of, the
Menaces.
luxury money tournament.
Yeah.
He's a menace to that.
Yes.
So
He's won more. I'm pretty sure he's won more money off GOAT format in the past year than he has working.
I can agree with that. Yep. Okay, let's move on to our next player, which is
Rebs.
another money player.
Rampage member, so you know that he's very strong. That's the same team. Ghost Rider, Jazz, Carl. Those incredibly good players are up their own. It's a classic team from back in the day as well, still going strong. He's got SJC tops up here, second place in FLC 21. Um, he's yeah, he's definitely a player I think can do a lot. But we also got to look who he's playing against. He's playing against Yada Yada. That's one. I think that's one of the more balanced low to high.
Yeah, his own teammate too, because Yada Yada's on Rampage too, so
Yeah,
it's kind of an interesting dynamic. These players who have to play their own teammates, it's a very interesting dynamic because they talk a lot about their own decks. They know what their kind of style of play is, so it's
right. Yeah,
interesting.
I think that's completely balanced. I think having to play against Ricolar in the second round might be a little annoying for him, but Ricolar is also Ricolar is not infallible.
No, and this year specifically, Reclair's had some trouble with warrior decks. It's been known
Yeah,
that Turbo in general, that's one of the main reasons why Turbo has gone through so much change this year from if you look at Turbo decks from last year versus how Turbo decks are played now, there's just a lot of change, and one of the main reasons why is because they just lose to warriors a lot. Um,
Ricolar definitely
yeah.
has. I'm sure Ricolar's figured out how to beat Warriors if he's even still on Turbo.
If he decides to go the Turbo route, yes, he could easily not play Turbo. This is all assumptions about
Right.
that, but
And
yeah,
I mean, I think it's very possible Ricolar knocks Krebs to the loser bracket because I don't
it's
think Ricolar
possible.
is the strongest player in the tournament this year. Um, but I don't think Krebs is either. I think it's very possible he gets knocked to losers bracket pretty early, even by his own teammate. You can't say for sure.
Krebs has
Um,
had a difficult run this year in tournaments. He's done very well in the money scene, won a lot of tournaments in there. But previous to this FLC 21, things have not gone his way. He did get top 8 at the DL Open though, so that was a good
yeah.
tournament. But in
Um,
general,
I
it was not the
also
greatest year.
um, yeah, that
Some people just get
was
unlucky,
fun.
honestly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that it's some people are really good players and have that 0-2 curse on them.
Yeah, there's
Um,
one of my teammates has that curse.
yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, Krebs could easily get to round 3 or he could 0-2. I think
Yeah, that's very
that's
possible.
yeah. I mean, someone has to 0-2. I don't want to say it's Krebs because it sounds mean, but he's a very strong player
Yeah,
with some bad luck.
he's got some top 8 in 2 SGCs, so that's pretty strong. He had a really good year last year, multiple top placings, a couple second places, so he's definitely got the potential to win. The bracket's not in his style. It's even more unfortunate that he's got some of his own teammates in his own bracket, which I think
Yeah,
hurts him. But yeah, let's move on.
Coming up next is another Rampage member, Carl Waite.
Ooh, the king.
Yeah, and Carl is definitely he's a player who's really strong, but he also has a bit of a bad run in tournaments.
Yeah, he
I don't
has.
expect Carl. I love Carl to death. Carl is one of my favorite people in the community. I do not expect him to top 8 at Worlds this year. I just don't, because I feel like it's just not going to go his way.
He is also
Um,
a known hater of warrior decks and
yes,
has spoken himself multiple times about he struggles sometimes with beating the top warrior players, and this tournament could potentially, again,
this
these are
tournament
all
has all of the
assumptions,
top
but
warrior
yeah, this
players.
tournament has a lot, not necessarily that they will play warriors, but if you want to make an assumption, there's a lot of warrior players and a lot of good warrior players, which could hurt
Yeah,
Carl.
absolutely. Um, Carl is in for a tough tournament.
If he plays them,
Um,
some people get lucky, or maybe shit goes his way and he actually is well prepared and destroys
well,
warrior
let's
players,
look
or
who he's against right quick. Let's see.
maybe he doesn't even have to
Oh,
play
his round one
them.
Sparky Flaherty.
Okay, so he's against one of the best warrior players of all time. So that's and his second round is against one of the other best warrior players of
Yeah,
all time. Okay, well we're
I
gonna
think.
test his mettle. We're gonna see how well prepared he is.
Yep, I think even if he beats Sparky, which I think is tough because Sparky is, one of, like you said, he's one of the best warrior players of all time. He's
Wow, right into his teammate. That's crazy.
yeah, exactly.
That's funny that you look at a bracket and you think that their round three matchup could potentially be their easiest from their first two. Like the one and two are harder than potentially three.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
exactly, and that's what really sucks about, kind of the double elimination setup, is because you can get
It can
super
happen.
unlucky early
Yeah.
on twice. Yeah, it's tough for Carl this time, but
But I mean, we'll really test his mettle, right? Because if he beats both those two warrior players, to me that just mean that he's on fire and he's got it, and then I would just lock
yeah,
him in.
yeah.
So I'm never gonna count out
Moving
the king.
on,
Let's move on.
skinny David DeBlois.
Oh, this is an interesting one. He's actually only played, I think, one or two tournaments this year. Only played one or two last year. Doesn't play a lot, but he got top four in GFC 13 with. I'm gonna put it up here. It was so interesting. His list. It was light of intervention Wangu control, which you
Yeah,
do not see anymore.
that he is definitely not going to play that for this event because it's bad. Um, uh, I can't see him making the conscious decision to pull up with that deck in this meta.
I mean, he pulled up with that deck in GFC.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's not like the best two decks, which are Turbo and Warrior, are like to me, I don't see how this deck beats Turbo Warrior very consistently. I mean, it's got a good side deck for it, like definitely, but like it's a deck that's like not the greatest against those, and he won. He won a lot.
yeah, um,
It definitely gives you know what the thing is though, it's funny, it depends on his bracket. I'd have to look at that, but like in general, if you go on the assumption that a lot of these players are going to bring more chaos control esque decks because that's just more common for skilled players, they want to play a deck that's more considered skill, then this deck actually does really well against that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of light intervention ever, but Wangu mained could and Compulse mained, that could just completely obliterate any chaos control game one every single time.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. If we see as much chaos control as people are expecting out of these big name players who like kind of swear by the control deck and want to prove themselves, um, which I don't. I think that all of these big name players that want to prove themselves have already proved themselves. I understand
Yep.
playing what's best is playing to win, but um, but there are a lot of people who absolutely want to see Dale and Chris and all these other people on Chaos Control or Go Control because it's the classic deck and they want to see some underdog story. Um, Tiger would be good against those, but I just don't see that happening, and I don't see this guy coming back with Tiger thinking that it's going to make a splash.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know anything about him,
I
and
don't know either.
sometimes. sometimes that's not a good thing at all. If we look at who he's playing against,
He's got
if I can find it.
Duck Duck into Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Duck Duck Goose either. I think that could go either way. One of them is going to have to lose round one, obviously.
Yep.
Um, Ghost Rider will knock the other one of those two down to losers bracket, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't have enough information on Skinny. I don't really know super amount, so it's hard for me to kind of place. But to me, as much as I want to hype up this deck and maybe see some upset potential if his bracket was a bunch of chaos control maybe, but it's not. It's looking more
Yeah, it's
turbo-esque or warrior-esque or even alt-esque. Um,
mhm.
I just he's one of those people that unfortunately I have to put in the potential of the O2 out, which I
Yeah.
hate to say. I don't everyone here
Yeah.
deserves to
I
put
don't
in
want to
that.
step on anyone's toes and or be like sound like I'm calling them bad or whatever. Someone has to go O2.
Yeah, people do. A bunch of people are going to go O2, and it's unfortunate because everyone here earned
Yeah,
their invites, and they're all clearly like good players enough because they got an invite. So cheers to everyone, and we don't mean to bash or anything. It's just a quick
yeah.
opinion.
If
Um,
anything, use it as inspiration to do
Yeah.
better.
And like I said, hey, you never know. These decks
You
these
never, yeah, you
decks
literally
come
never
out of
know.
nowhere. Three trap dust shoot and lighted intervention against Turbo could even be pretty powerful. He's got three Kaiku in his deck. If he does bring this deck, I mean, at the end of the day,
Absolutely, yeah,
you go first and you play lighted intervention with trap dust shoot, and you got Wangu or Kaiku in your hand. I mean, you never know. That could just blow Turbo out. So
absolutely.
anyway, well, let's move on to next, which
Uh,
is
Giorgione.
oh, perfect.
Um,
Another
yeah,
Italian
Giorgione is someone else who is on the Pui shares two teams. She's on Damage Step, and she's on this team, the Europeans.
Europeans.
Uh,
He's on that
yeah,
team.
with Chopper and Giorgione.
Actually got
And
first place in one of the last obelisks there with the Warriors.
yeah, absolutely. I think he's a good player. Um, he's he's in the Damage Step chat as well with Pui, and he talks quite a fair bit. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to do. I mean, we look for his name here, and he's up against the Wayfarer. Wayfarer's a fairly all right player. I don't think he's absurdly good. I also don't think he's bad. I think George Jones is actually probably better, and that's one of the. I think that's definitely one of the better matchups from low seed to high seed out of all this tournament. But then he'd be up against Alethea, who will sack, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Giorgione has a good chance of going 2-1 or 1-2. One of those. I don't. He's not my favorite to push to top 8 at
He's
all.
he's definitely in a bracket you would want to be in if you could choose a bracket. He's definitely in one.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I would take this bracket probably any day of the week. So, well, actually, no, I wouldn't because I have a vendetta. But
But
um,
yeah, no, it's
yeah, but being objective, I don't think that's a bad bracket at all. But I also don't necessarily think that breaking through Alethea is what he's going to be doing first thing.
yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Let's move on
All right.
to
Jace, he earned his invite with the Patreon World Qualifier with Goat Control. He played the list of Chaos Command Magician, Jar Greeds.
oh yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna put that up on screen real quick. That was a fun list.
I think this guy's a pretty good player. I don't think that he's the best in the tournament, and at the same time, I don't think that he'll bring Goat Control again because he knows that you can't play fair in a tournament like this where you know like 70% of the people there are ridiculously strong. So his first round was Bakura 1994, who won an FLC, or I mean a GFC.
Yes, the first one of the
Um,
year.
yeah, going into you if he wins it. So
Yep.
you are I mean you eat goats for breakfast.
Yeah, I've never really had. I feel pretty confident about playing these types of decks. But Jace actually, I'm not sure what he's playing, but I can't remember. But he actually got decently far in the Patreon playoffs that we had a couple weekends ago. He ended up top 8ing it or top 6ing it. I'm not quite sure off memory.
Yeah.
It was a goat deck. I'm not sure if it was more of a Thunder Chaos Control or more of a goat control deck. Um, I'm not sure exactly. I would like to say that if he's gonna go with the deck that got him in and go with goat control against the odds. I would actually kind of hate to see if he decided to move to chaos control.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, you do what you do what you think you have to win.
I mean, I
And
100% agree with that, but at the same time, wouldn't that also apply to qualifying? Like he qualified the tournament by winning an event with Go Control. So for me, it's like if you're willing to take this event to get your invite, wouldn't you be
right.
confident enough to bring that deck to Worlds? Because like it's different if like I won an event and then I was just playing other decks just to play them, just to see if the potential if I
Yeah.
could win or whatever. But he actually won his qualifying invite on Go Control. So I'm actually inclined to think that maybe he might bring it or something.
Hmm.
I definitely think 3 scapegoats will be played in his deck.
Well, he only had 2 in his deck, and
Okay, well then two or three, third sided, some swaps, whatever is going on. He's gonna be having that. I would be surprised if he jump trained to. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumped to Chaos Control. I would be very surprised if he jumped to Warriors or Turbo.
yeah. I don't take him as the guy who will play Warriors. Turbo, like the jump from Goat Control to Turbo isn't that ridiculous. Um,
I do think
but
his round one is very winnable. Bakura has not played basically at all this year ever since he won his GC
right, yeah,
event. He could easily be playing at his locals in his own. He's from Germany, could be playing there. I have no reason to know that, but when it comes to tournaments and from the knowledge I know, has not been playing at all. Um, so it's definitely a winnable matchup. I wouldn't call either player better than the other one. I'd say it's a winnable matchup. I do think the bracket itself is not very good going into myself and Chris Pravick in this
yeah,
side. I don't think it's an enjoyable one. It's definitely not one of it's not one of the hardest ones. It's just not one of the easiest brackets either. There's
yeah.
potential to have to play myself and then KP in a row, which just does not sound fun.
No, I wouldn't want to do that for sure.
Yeah.
And let's move on now. The Nano, Luca DeAngelis.
Oh, perfect. The Nano.
Um,
First place in
Nano's a
007.
ridiculously strong player. I actually used to think he was terrible. The first few arguments I've never seen him play, and I thought that he was stupid and bad at the game. But he's actually an incredibly, ridiculously good player. Um, his first round he's in the very top bracket here, I think, against Rawnock, and he's going to win that. Rawnock qualified from an FLC win with an Earth deck. It was like his first Go tournament ever.
Yeah,
He just kind of
it was also one of the weakest. And I'm not saying this to take away from anybody, but it was also one of the weakest and smallest FLCs we've had in a while. Um,
yeah. Um,
yeah.
yeah, Nano is going to win against Rawnock. I don't think there's any way he doesn't. Um,
Still, that bracket is the one of death.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, again, Lucas is the person. Lucas is his real first opponent, honestly. And I mean, Ronak's cool. I don't hate the guy. I don't think he's a bad player, but he's not as well versed in Goat as Venano is. He's not playing a deck that's anywhere near as unfair as Venano's can be.
Agree. Yeah, and then have to walk into Lucas, and then potential of Ant or Dale, or if Gib Nation or Jago end up going to that spot, then clearly they're on something good if they made it past that far. So,
Mhm.
it's not an enjoyable bracket for sure.
No,
Nano
I,
is one that's known to experiment. He does not like to go follow the standard. He's also I know we go back and forth on debates of certain cards and certain decks, but usually trends happen, and we were on the Regeki break trend for Turbo for a long time after Worlds. He actually started the Phoenix Wind Blast in Clash. At least in tournament form, there are other players who were playing it previous, but when it comes to like a tournament structure where you can see people play things in a tournament structure, he actually went with the Phoenix Wind Blast and was one of the first people to do the Phoenix Wind Blast. And now, if you look at Turbo decks now, they all main Phoenix Wind Blast because it's actually way better in a Chaos mirror,
Which is
Wind Blast is
funny. Which is
better.
funny because actually, Ghost Rider was. I saw him talking about how much he despises Phoenix Wing now and is going back to Regeki Break.
Yeah, see, and
So,
some people go back. It definitely. I mean, if you're in the mirror, a turbo versus turbo, I think you're the one with the advantage if you have Wing Blast over Reggae Break personally. Um, but it also loses harder to other decks and stuff like that. But it's fun.
right.
He's definitely a player who will innovate and bring fun stuff and different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Nano has potential to go far. I don't think that Lucas is. I'm not. I think he's pretty equal with Lucas in terms of skill. I think that it's going to be matchup dependent on that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Which again, I'm not sure what Lucas is even bringing. Like people can make the argument, oh, we won a lot on Warriors, but if you look at even
yeah,
recently, came second on Turbo. He just topped a tournament with his Turbo deck that slides into Chaos Control, and he won an event on Turbo not that long ago. So anyone who's prepping to play against Lucas,
keep your mind open.
make sure you're not just going full board that he's going to play something, because that guy can play any deck at any time.
Yeah. Um,
Let's move
yeah.
on.
I think we said as much about Nano as we
Yeah.
probably can. Let's move on to
Oh,
his
right
first
here.
round opponent, Ronak. Um,
One FLC
Ronak
19.
has he's done very well in Edison format. He's a very popular Edison format player. He plays a lot of frogs, um, and water decks in that format. Um, he's pretty successful in Edison, and he decided randomly one day to play a Goat format tournament, and he won it. I don't think he's a bad player whatsoever, but I do think he's inexperienced with Goat. I think he has an incredibly tough round one. I think he's one of the candidates for going 0-2, as much as I hate to say it, because I love the guy.
Yeah,
Um,
I have to agree. Unfortunately, he has been playing Goat Ladder, to get himself ready. He's been playing a decent amount of that, but when it comes to like top tier practice, he is also, to be fair, a part of Ring of Destruction. They have good players in that
yeah,
team. He will be prepared, but is prepared as much as some of these other players, and being in a bracket that is just busted hard.
mhm.
Um, I don't personally like his chances, but
Not at all. And I mean, he can pull back because if he's playing an aggressive deck like he was playing at the FLC, he might can just outpace Nano. Goblin Attack Force can run over those Blade Knights against Lucas. I mean, he
yep.
could pull it off.
Which, to be fair,
But
he's the one who beat Lucas in the finals of
yeah,
FLC to win. I'm pretty sure he beat him in winners finals, and then beat him again in grand finals with this Earth Aggro deck. So he's definitely
yeah.
played Lucas before multiple times.
Like I said, I think he's a really strong player. I think he's just going to have a tough time in this bracket, and the experience that Nano has with the entire game as a whole. I don't know what testing he's doing for Destruction. Um, it has to be some good stuff for him to um make it though. I think, and um, I mean, I give my bets on the Nano winning round one, but Ronald could do it.
Okay, let's move on to Bakura
Philip
1994.
Raspinda, Bakura 1994, the one we were talking about before. We've talked about all these players so far in the top end of the bracket because um, they've been coming up against the lower players. Um, he hasn't played a lot this year at all. And his round one, who was it against? So he said
Jace.
Jace. I think yeah, like we were saying, both of them are probably on equal grounds to win it, but Jace has been playing a lot more often. Um, I'm not sure if I have high hopes for Philip here.
That's true. I mean,
Um,
he did cut. But to be fair, though, if I remember correctly, he barely played goats when he won GFC 11. He just started playing a week or two
he actually
before.
no he GFC 11 was January 2nd of this year, and he said that he started playing goats the day after Christmas. I think.
Oh, so he had like a week of prep. Played,
Yeah,
walked in and
if even
played.
that much.
He played a deck that we actually like. He played turbo, but his deck
He
was,
had three Kaiku's main.
yeah, he was a different type of build. It was a more aggressive turbo deck, which we haven't seen throughout this whole year. We haven't, which I was surprising because I would assume that since he won GFC, people would copy his build and start playing like that. But
Yeah,
we haven't seen that.
but Cora, it's his first goat event because he's not a name of the community. I think it's actually like his only goat event. Um, he's not a name of the community, and Goat format has a lot of it's widespread, but the people who play in tournaments are very close knit, and they don't like the net deck people they don't know anything about.
That's true. That's fair. He got top four in National 2015. He's definitely done things in other formats. He's done things in
Yeah,
this format. So, I mean, if he
I don't give my chances. I don't put my bets on him getting to top
no,
eight.
I'm not putting my
But
bets on him, but anybody can win at any given day.
true,
I don't
yeah,
like his bracket going into myself, who I play a lot. I do a lot of research.
yeah, you,
I'm very well
yeah,
prepared, and then having Chris Perovic, who is again one of the most known players of skill and one of the most known players for preparing and getting himself ready. So two people who are very well like prepared for this tournament.
and we cannot ignore Dingo Sig and Crashvolt, who are both incredibly strong players playing
Exactly.
on fair decks.
On very on
So
yeah OP decks. So it's just not a great bracket if you're in it. You it's
yeah,
not one you'd want to be in. Other than that though, hope you do well. Just not versus me.
yeah. But Wayfair up next, he got his in Obelisk 11 with Chaos Turbo. He's a cool guy. I actually talked to him a lot outside of Yu-Gi-Oh, and we're both fantasy writers. He's actually published, and I'm not, so he's better. But he's also a professional parkour athlete, gym director. He's a great guy, actually. I love talking to him.
He does it
As
all.
far as his Yu-Gi-Oh skill goes, we've actually both been playing Reaper format, which I cannot stand anymore. But
That's a different topic for a different day.
yeah, he went 5-2 in the most recent Reaper tournament. I
Oh,
went
same.
6-1. I topped,
Oh
yeah,
no, I didn't. Never
and
mind. Yeah, I did. I don't remember what I went. Anyway, continue.
well, he went 5-2 and dropped before top cut because he didn't feel like it was worth like he didn't feel like he deserved getting in a top cut, with a 5-2
Oh,
record. So that was, honorable of him. I don't think he's a bad player. He did talk himself down after his obelisk win because he said, Turbo just did Turbo things and got him there. Um,
yeah. He played without Deco too. No train in his build.
yeah, his and against Georgione, I think Georgione probably wins that.
But I wouldn't be
Um,
surprised. That's to be fair. I
right,
wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if Wayfarer wins.
right, yeah, for sure.
I
Anyone, honestly, anyone playing Chaos Turbo could just win this whole event because it's Chaos Turbo.
That's true. It happened last year.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I want to give one small like a shout out to him too. He actually designed the sleeves that we're going to use for this
oh yeah, yeah.
for this tournament. So I want to give him a shout out. If anyone out there is randomly watching this video and randomly likes looking at stuff or wants some graphics done, he did make the graphic we're going to use this weekend. And overall, just an all-around super nice player. I don't like his chances in this tournament. I think he's pretty new still-ish. Not
Yeah,
as
you hear
experienced
that?
as some
You
of the
hear
other
that,
people.
Wayfair? Moxie thinks you're garbage.
Oh God, that's yikes. But yeah, his bracket's hard.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not someone, like I said, someone has to go 0-2, 1-2, whatever. I don't necessarily think he's going to go 0-2. I mean, you can't tell that based on round one because you don't know who's going to win everything.
yeah,
But I do think I don't like his chances necessarily for round one, and that can be the undoing in a double elimination tournament.
exactly. And, let's move on now.
All right, Duck Duck Goose, another person I know nothing about.
Duck, duck,
Top four.
goose.
Top four in GSC 15. They're playing against Skinny, I think it was, who
Yes.
is literally, again, someone I know nothing about. But if they win, they're going into Ghost Rider. I honestly don't like their chances either.
From what I know, Duck Duck actually played back in 2005. He's from New York. He's friends with the New York Rampage players, or at least knows them. He played back in the day. I think he randomly started playing because him and Carl were talking one day about old Yu-Gi-Oh! And because Carl plays, and the next thing you know, Duck Duck decided, I'll play Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, and then he just fell in love with Go format again and decided he wanted to go hard in it, and has had some recent tops and got his qualification. He's also a rapper. If anyone out there wants to listen, you could message him on Discord or something. I'm pretty sure he's got rap CDs out or whatever. I don't know. I'm not hip with all that knowledge of stuff, but he makes music. Um,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how good the quality is. I've never listened, but he definitely makes music.
All right.
Don't like his bracket that much. That's about it.
Yeah, is what it is. Next up is Ronnie Calderon, Sparky Flary, one of the all-time Warrior players. He was third place in Worlds last year.
Yeah,
Um, he,
he's a unit. He doesn't play too many tournaments anymore. He with his own life, he's busy doing what he does. But when he does play, the guy has just an he's basically automatic at topping tournaments. Like
yeah,
he
I don't like if you've ever spoken to Sparky outside of the context of Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll probably wonder how he gets out of bed in the morning and puts on his pants correctly.
he's an interesting person to talk to. Yes, his views and his the way he articulates his conversation is definitely interesting. But when it comes to playing the game itself, there's just
Yeah,
almost
he
nobody
knows the
better
game
with
inside
Warriors.
and out.
Like
And
random
that's
tournaments.
another thing. Even when you're talking to him about Yu-Gi-Oh, it doesn't sound like he knows anything. But you know he does because he's very good.
Yeah, sometimes I
He
feel like that's
then
a ploy. Where, like you're like in a game with him, and he'll say things like, "Oh, like I'm surprised. Oh, wow, I never thought of that," or "Oh, whatever." But then he beats you, and
yeah,
you're like, "Did he actually not know that, or is he just screwing with me?"
right, exactly. And like outside of the game too, when you talk to him about deck theory or something, he'll say, "Oh yeah, well, I just put that card in because I thought two copies of it sounded right." And then he goes and win. He's
Plays
never.
that, yeah.
He always acts like he doesn't think about anything, but I mean, he clearly knows how to play.
Got top four
Um,
last year at Worlds, with one of the most interesting different warrior decks you will
yeah,
see,
I think he ran
especially
12 monsters,
yes,
three
12
Book of Boom,
monsters.
three MS.
It was no BLS in the main deck. It was sided. It was like MST, attack, attack, attack. It was a very, he actually brought one of the best decks that's prepared for the meta that was expected, or at least
Yeah,
that he thought, and it worked so well. He was just destroying people left and right. Ended up getting third place in the event, or it was third or fourth.
he was third
Yeah,
because
he
he
was
beat
third.
Lazaro, I think.
Yes, yeah, he got third in that event. Got second in the Format Library Championship 18 to qualify for the event, and has one of the most legendary photos you will ever see
Yeah,
of all time. So there's if you're even though his bracket, like if you're looking at his bracket is actually decently difficult. His first two rounds are super hard. You got to go into Carl, into SD Killa. That's pretty hard, but at the same time, it's friggin' Sparky. He just
right. Yeah,
wins. The guy just
and
wins.
Sparky could. I mean, okay, Carl. It could go either way. Sparky could run down Carl 2-0. He'd run down Carl 1-0 and break Carl's spirit so bad that he
Yeah.
just quits. He could also could lose. Um,
And
I give Sparky
even if he loses to Carl, he's the type of player that you don't put into that. Oh well, he lost the first round. I'm just
absolutely.
going to throw him out.
Sparky
Next
could
thing you
lose
know,
and
he
run
just
through this whole thing.
wins 7 rounds in losers bracket, and he's in the top 8. And then once you make top 8, it's a reset for Sunday for the next day, and then you're like, oh, now someone has to beat Sparky twice again. Like what?
Right. Yeah.
Guy's just an absolute monster at every event he plays in. So I'm putting him in the caliber of I would not surprise me
We'll
if
probably get
will
top eight.
probably get top 8 and is just a sleeper pick because he doesn't play that much in the way
I do not think
his
Sparky will
talking.
win the tournament. I think he has a long history of coming very close to winning them
Yes,
and then
agreed.
not doing so.
But if you want to
I
pencil
don't.
yourself in for a top 8 player, he's a good choice.
He absolutely.
Um,
Next up is Yada Yada from Team Rampage.
Another
Um,
really strong player.
and yeah, another Rampager.
Another
Qualified
rampager.
with Chaos Control. I don't know very much about him except that he's on Rampage.
Um, I've got some good information actually on Yada Yada. A couple tidbits. One, the deck that he qualified on in the top 4 luxury event. I actually helped him build. He made some adjustments to it, but it's actually my winning deck from the 3v3 that he just updated the side from. He fell in love with it. We talked back and forth about it, and then he ended up taking it to the luxury event and getting top 4 with it. He
Yeah.
actually beat me in that event with that deck against me. Um, so he definitely earned his spot. He's also now that I just threw my own tidbit in there about him beating using my deck, he's also the originator of the deck that Reclaire won Worlds with. Reclaire
Yeah,
took
I
Yada
remember
Yada's
hearing that
deck.
story. Yeah,
Yes,
Rickler just literally took his list card for card and then won Worlds with it.
exactly. So a lot of people don't because it's you get the assumption like, oh, Reclaire won the worlds, this is his deck, but in reality he
Right.
actually just
Yeah,
took
it's
card
not.
for
It's
card
Yada's.
yada yada's deck and then won with it, which isn't taking away from Reclaire. He's obviously one of the best players of all time in the format and won worlds last year. But yada yada is a very innovative deck builder, and
Absolutely. I think not playing Mirror Force is a mistake, but he's definitely.
yes. He doesn't play a lot of tournaments. He's got a busy life at home, but he did go hard to try and make some events so he could be in Worlds this year because he was pretty disappointed he didn't make Worlds last year.
Right. Yeah.
Um, he's a pretty strong player. So let's go. Where's his bracket at? Oh yeah, he's got his teammate Krebs round one, and then he gets to play Reclaire 91. Man, you can't make this up. How fun that would
That's
be.
yeah. Um, I give him as good a chances as I give Krebs. One of them has to win. One of them has to lose.
Yep, I agree.
Um, I can't say for certain which it's going to be. I think they're both good players. Um, I don't give him chances to win the whole event because I feel as good as he is, there are definitely a lot of players who can storm past him. But at the same time, if he keeps building decks as good as he built Reclars last year, then you never know.
For anyone out there, I don't know if they'll stream it if it's there, but if there is a Yada Yada versus Reclar 91 match, I hope it gets streamed because that is just that would just be a legendary match for me to watch just because of some of the stuff that's gone into that. I'd be very interested in that. Other than that, played Chaos Control, plays it at a high level, and I agree with Cam. He's one of those people that could just disappear from the event and you wouldn't even really remember, or he could, next thing you know, you're going to look at the top 8 list and you're just going to see a fun yada yada deck there.
Yep.
Let's
All right.
see.
Next up is a Chopper, another member of Quee and Georgione's team. Um, he also qualified from the ladder with Panda Burn. They're all very adept with that deck. Um,
Yes.
another player that I think if they bring Panda Burn is going to get disappointed.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he actually brought it, but I also wouldn't be surprised at all if he brought it. I have an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
story right there for that. He got his invite from December ladder. I personally was in that ladder under an alt LRG Deathstroke, and I was situated in a pretty good position basically for months. And last day, he switched from his deck to Panda and started playing it, and then ended up passing me with 1 minute left before they closed
yep.
down shop, and I couldn't log in fast enough to click and play a rated game. So he ended up passing me and getting to the top 4 spots. It was a hectic night, crazy. DB ladder
Um,
last day is nuts. Um, but he part of the Europeans, strong player. He plays Warriors a lot too. Um, yeah, he's got a couple tops in the team events because the team is strong. And yeah, just good player. His bracket's
all
not
right.
not. Oh, we got let's just take a quick look at his bracket. He's got AJ right off the bat, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and that can be tough because AJT's probably going to be playing
If
Warriors.
he's on Panda, it's definitely I'm gonna give AJ the huge edge. If he's
Um,
on Warrior, I'm still gonna give AJ the
I
edge, but it's a
yeah, I'm
lesser
going
of
to
an
give
edge.
AJT the edge because AJT is just
AJT, yeah.
absurd. He's going to
Um,
open pot and duo.
And
So
then to walk into Matt Uber, that could be another dicey role.
Matt Uber,
Um,
on the other hand, well, we'll talk about him when we get to
yeah,
him.
when
We'll
we
talk
get
about
to
him.
there. Okay, let's move on for Chopper.
Guys, Peter Worthdew. What to say about this again?
Geist D, yes, Geist D is one of the.
His team name is very accurate.
Oh God,
Team
I haven't seen
Sweep.
it. Oh, Team Sweep. Yeah, that was actually the team with Swisky and Smoker.
Yeah. Um,
Another person who hasn't
absolutely.
played a lot this year though, but he's one of the best players of all time.
Yeah, for sure. Like he's played many formats. Um, stupid strong player. He's one of the ones. Like I said, I don't ever want to go up against in a tournament like this. He plays against Juve round one. I think he's going to win it. I think Geisty is going to get top 8.
That's good. That's a good thing. I mean, what happened to him last year in Worlds can't happen this year. Again, I hope, but last year he actually lost both of his games because
Yeah.
of disconnects. And back then, at last year at Worlds, they didn't have the 90-second comeback.
Right.
So once you
Yeah.
disconnected, it was just an automatic loss. So he lost twice because of disconnects. So if that happens
Yeah.
this
This
year, at
time
least
that
he's
won't
got some
happen to
time.
him,
Yeah.
and I think he can go pretty far.
I agree. I agree. He's one of the strongest players of all time. He didn't play a lot this year, but he's a known multiple champion. He's a GFC champion and a multiple
Yeah.
FLC champion.
He's easily top 5 best players in this tournament.
Yes, I agree.
Out of these 56 players, he is in the top 5. So
And his bracket is decent, right? We looked at Juve and then
yeah, he's going Juve into Delinquent. Could go either way, but I think Delinquent is good at weird decks. I think Geist is good at all decks.
yeah, I
And
agree. Depends on what guy Steve brings and what Delinquent brings. That could be crazy because it could just randomly appear where Delinquent's deck just completely counters them, and then that's that.
sure, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. So
But
that's
yeah,
kind of a dicey. That's a strong bracket looking at it. Like, cause Ivan Rosito and Mark MPS, like in Delinquent, like that's not a even though you would look at that bracket and you would zone in a guy's D and go, you know what, like I'm gonna put him, round 4 probably, but it's definitely not a
right.
bracket that you want to count out some of these other players. There's some good people in there, that could beat him. But you would pencil him in for sure as being probably one of the better players. He's definitely a player that even if he does lose around 3 here, in the losers bracket, you could almost guarantee that he's going to push through the 2 or 3 wins he'll need to make the top 8. And then, like I said, it resets day 2, so everyone will have 0 losses again. And then you'd have to beat Geist in a top 8 twice, and it's like, ah, shit. Um,
Right.
so it's a difficult one. Let's go look at who's
Next
next.
up is we just talked about him or mentioned his name, Ivan Rosito.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, Ivan Rosito. He's newish to the scene. I'm pretty sure he played current um for years, then he's only just made the transition to GOAT in like within the last month or two. He
Yeah,
won one of our most recent, was it the most recent FLC? Did we have a six? I don't remember. I think it was the most recent one, right? Yeah. The last
yeah.
GFC before Worlds was 15, and he won on Chaos Turbo. Beat a bunch of good players in that tournament. He's been playing really
He's
well
playing
lately.
against Karibo round 1. I feel like I have to give him the edge on that one. But
Yeah, I'm
again,
definitely
Karibo
gonna
could be
give,
playing.
yeah, 100% gonna give him the edge. But like I said, it's hard. It's hard. Honestly, if I'm him, I actually am not happy that I got matched with Karibo. I'd rather
Yeah,
play a
absolutely.
lot
Like
of the other
any
lower
player,
brackets.
like I, unless it's Geist or Chris or Dale or someone, I would much rather be matched with a middling player who plays warrior or control
Yeah, than to
than
play.
against a perceived quote unquote, I don't know again, but a quote unquote bad player who plays something stupid.
Yeah, no, I agree. And let's just say that Karibo doesn't make the mistakes he made in the last qualifiers, and he worked really hard to tune up his nerves and his mistakes, and he plays really strong. That can turn into a really hard, difficult matchup. Like you
Absolutely.
would assume that he'd want to play a Chaos Turbo Mirror because he's well prepared for it, has been
Yeah.
winning a lot of it
And
lately.
well, Chaos Turbo could be good for him against the Bazoo Dimension Fusion deck because Dimension Fusion will give him back his spies.
Yep, spies. There's a lot of good targets for that to bring back. That's like one of the main problems with Bazoo Fusion versus Bazoo Return is that the
Hmm.
Return gives you a bit more explosiveness and finisher versus the Fusion just gives you a bit more flexibility. Um, but yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. His bracket again is not the most fun because even if he
No.
does win that
He's got
match,
guys Delinquent, Juve, Mark,
yeah,
Wiggum,
Wiggum, like, and if Wiggum beats Mark and Wiggum is on Warriors, Turbo players do
which he
not
will.
like play. Oh, let's not go that far, but let's
Nah, it's the
uh
curse.
uh you do if you're a warrior player, what do you want every time if you're a warrior player? What do you want to play nonstop? You want to play
Turbo.
turbo every single time. So if you're Wiggum, you're actually in a good spot to play multiple turbo people in a row. And if you're turbo, who do you not want to play the most is warrior. And
Yeah.
even if you are well prepared on your side, sometimes you don't even have a chance in that matchup. Um,
Yep.
so Rosito, and if he does have to play, he's played Mark now a couple times. in these last tournaments, including marketing second at the GFC that he won. They've played each other multiple times now. I think Rosito has won every single one. So that's interesting, but it's not a great bracket. It's definitely a difficult bracket.
For sure. And
yeah, it's not. But he's been playing really well. He's been playing really well. So
yeah, I give him the edge round 1. Round 2, it could be a toss up, but again,
another player. If I saw him in the top 8, I would be like, yep, makes
I would
sense.
not. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put him in the top 8 automatically like I would some of these players.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see him in it.
Agree. Let's move on.
Ivan Flores up next.
Oh, perfect.
Another Rampage member.
There's a lot of
Um,
them in here.
there are a lot of the Rampage is a very strong team. I've played against Ivan multiple times in tournaments. I actually have a winning record against Ivan, but in the last time I played him, he beat me very, very badly. And he was playing Warriors at that time, and I think I was playing Turbo. So, what do you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think that
He's
Ivan is
he's pretty he's pretty good. You know what? I wouldn't put him as like an absolute powerhouse of a player. I think
no.
honestly a lot of
I think
his
Ivan
ish.
has his limitations,
Yeah,
and I think he definitely understands the game. He won an SJC, as you can see down here. He got top 4 at the same event I got top 4 at. The Dale 100 Open.
I,
Um,
I think his biggest issue is just he doesn't spend a lot of time. Like he's very busy with
yeah,
work and his DJing and stuff, so he doesn't spend as much time as other players
yeah,
at preparing
he's
himself.
mostly just playing in the tournaments and just like extending them rather than practicing outside of them, which is the same thing I do. Granted, that's probably why I'm not in Worlds this year. Um, but but yeah, I do think that might be what pulls him back from doing super well in the tournament. But I think he has a chance. Yeah, as a member of Rampage, he has access to all of his teammates and their theory and stuff. And again, he's won an SJC in 2006. He knows the game. Um, he just much like Ivan, I don't automatically put him in, or the other Ivan, I don't automatically put him in top 8. But again, not surprised if he would be there. Who's he playing against round 1?
Michelle Cimino, and then goes into
I
Art
think
or Poi.
I think I probably give Michelle the edge because of how much he's been playing lately.
I agree. I would agree with that. It's definitely a winnable match, but it's definitely not.
It's not free.
Yeah, it's not free. And then there's potential to play Panda or whatever Poi wants to bring. And then there's Art,
Yeah,
who's a really strong technical player. And so it's not a very strong. It's not a good bracket to be in. Um, but again, another player that like if he was in the top 8, I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. Uh, but I wouldn't he would definitely wouldn't be a person that I'm going to label in as thinking that he's going to make it that far.
Up
So
next is Logan Lopez. I don't know anything about him.
basically, he's
He
plays a
got
little bit
top
of
32 in
money.
the YCS and Zodiac format.
Yes, which again is good for you because you love that stuff.
Yeah, I do love
Um,
Zodiacs.
yeah, he doesn't play. His first tournament was the one that he won, the GFC. He plays ladder and he plays some money tournaments.
Hmm.
Played Warriors. I don't really know too much more about him other than that. Uh, yeah, I don't really have much to say.
His match one is against Matzo, which is another player that we don't really know
Yeah,
much about.
I don't really like his bracket at all. I think the fact that he has to play into the potential of LeBounty, there's Reclar, there's
Krebs,
Krebs, yada
Yada,
yada.
Ludwig's,
I
yeah.
just don't like his bracket. I wouldn't be surprised if he won against Mazzo though, but he's not a player that I would put myself in a position to say that he's going to get a top 8 spot. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. No, again, just no offense to anyone we're talking about when we say you're not going to, top 8 or you're going to, but I feel like being objective about it. He's not my favorite at all. So,
Agreed.
not with all these names around here.
Agreed. Let's move into
Brian
Fusion.
Palmer, Fusion. Fusion is a cool player. He's also not one of my favorites to get top 8, but he's a great guy. I love him. He plays Warriors with the Gravekeeper and Necro Valley Engine in it. He's a Ring of Destruction member alongside Faye. So they've always been practicing a lot. I think Fusion's a strong player, but his invite came off of like a lot of really lucky matchups because of him playing Necro Valley in the main deck.
Yeah, his deck, him qualifying was just a really good pick. It was a super heavy warrior, like
Yeah, so
lung
yeah,
decks in
Warrior
that
and
tournament.
Turbo, so you got Spies and Necro Valley.
So
So
it worked really well. Again, he has not been playing a lot recently. He's moved on to some other
he has not. He's
things.
actually been playing a lot of Forged and Chaos lately. Enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, nice little prop there from you. So I don't like his chances. I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the unfortunate O2s.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not expecting much from him, but anyone who's earned their invite has a chance to go anywhere. So it's Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm not expecting
Yeah.
much, and a decently hard bracket too.
Yeah. Next up is Tran XP, Peter Tran. This guy is ridiculously good, and frankly, let me see where he is on here.
He's got a hard, tough one bracket, unfortunately, with Taz
Yeah,
Taz.
playing against to mid round one, going into Juan versus Arts one, whoever wins that. We've already talked about Skinny versus Duck Duck Goose. We don't know who's going to win that, but we do know Ghost Rider's up in there. But P-Tran, I think P-Tran's just as good as Ghost Rider, if not better.
Yeah, again, one of the few players. There's not a lot of them that have a GFC win and an FLC win. Had one. You could argue, other than Geisty, had the strongest year overall. Like I know Reclaire won Worlds last year, but he had arguably one of the best years overall last year.
Mhm.
He hasn't played a lot this year. He got second in the FLC that I won. Super tough opponent, and he hasn't really been playing that much a year. But he's a player that you can easily be a top 8. He also is a Canadian player, and he's been
So
scrimming.
you gotta give him that, right?
Yes, and he has been preparing for this tournament. I have been scrimming with him. I wanted to have good competition, so I asked him. So he's definitely been playing and preparing for this tournament. And again, he's a player where I could see him just dropping and not doing anything. And if he's in top 8, I'd be like,
You
yep,
wouldn't be
makes
surprised to see
sense.
it.
He's also famous for a last tidbit on him before we move on. He's also famous for being very open to innovation. He won't just cookie cut decks. He will play like he was playing like Zombra
Yeah.
with
Oh, yeah. He was playing his Chaos Turbo build with Zombiris
yeah,
Killdrain main.
Zombra exactly. Like he will just play cards and not care about anything. He just says screw it. No one's expecting
Yeah.
it. I'm doing it.
Tournaments are his stomping ground for testing, and
Yeah. So when you're watching this, if I don't think he'll beat Taz. But if he does, I could easily see him being in the top 8. Even if he loses to Taz, he's the guy that has potential to still make day 2 top 8.
yeah.
Okay, let's move
Okay,
on.
next up is KL 1993. Probably the best Panda Burn player, and if he does bring Panda Burn, he's the Panda Burn player that I give the best chances of getting anywhere.
Yeah, he would be the. I've actually discussed him with multiple players. He is to me a very scary player. I've played a lot of these other burn players myself, like in tournaments, a bunch of times now, and I don't really have that many issues beating Panda Burn myself. But KL 9093, he is the guy when it comes to Panda Burn. And he's very hard to beat and very innovative in himself. So
Mm-hmm.
and his bracket is like I said, I
Well,
like
and
his bracket.
not only is he innovative, he innovated the Panda Burn deck that
Deck in
people use
general,
now.
yes, he's the original innovator of that deck, and I like his bracket a lot. Like when it comes to like the bracket you want to be in, going into Jerry, Faye, Sod, Wayfarer, Geo, and Alpha Yatu, that's a bracket that you might want to be
Yeah,
in.
I know. I
He could
absolutely
do
put
that.
KL getting to round 3 easily through
Yeah,
everyone up here,
and then if
and
he does beat Alpha Yatu, you know what? Boom, you're in that spot now where you're in the one round qualifier for top 8. So you know
yeah,
what? He's a guy that if any of the Panda players to me could make it to day 2, it would be him. That
it's
would be my
him.
choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, good for
Next
him.
up is the man himself, Christopher Paropic.
Oh, KP.
All right.
KP.
Member of the legendary team Overdose, winner of the Clash of Champions, um, second place SJC 2008, first place in the FLC 13 on the Humble Robot account.
Yep,
Um,
one of the absolute greats of the Yu-Gi-Oh and
Yeah,
Goat format.
yeah. A lot of achievements for Goat format not even listed up here. The 2016 War League that everyone net decked his deck from, or the 2014 one of the two. Um, but yeah, I mean, and also experimenting with his Soul Control builds. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if instead of Turbo he brought one of those. Um, he's
Yeah.
definitely he's definitely very big on the idea of the deck. I think that he thinks it's incredibly strong. It's a deck that can play Decree, which is a pretty well positioned card right now. I don't like
Yep.
it too much versus Turbo. Against Warriors, it has this drawback where they can kind of do what they want.
Yeah. It's a solid.
But
It's a solid card. It can just straight up blow out games.
yeah, but yeah, I think that Chris is one of my instant picks for top eight.
I
I don't
agree. I
like.
agree.
I don't think it matters what his bracket is. I don't think it matters who's in it, what he's up against. Even if he goes to losers round one, I mean, he's just a pick for me to get to top eight.
I agree. I have him on my top eight. His first two rounds are definitely winnable. Two pal into Crashvolt Dingo, and then round three, there's potential it could be myself or Bakura Jace. Um,
Yeah,
obviously, I
and if,
don't
it,
think
if,
he
if
can.
it's not you, then I
Yeah,
think if it's
it's
not you, I think he just storms
he just
through
storms.
all of that.
I agree. And if we do play himself, other than that, even if it is me, his first two rounds are winnable. And if you win your first two rounds, and let's say he does lose to me, he's still in a good spot after two round
Yeah,
wins in the
and
winners.
frankly,
To
and frank, Chris is better than you, Moxies. I'm sorry,
oh well, that's everyone has their
but
own opinion.
everyone has their own opinion. But I mean, I really think that if he's playing one of those soul control builds that's good against warrior, I don't know if you're going to play warrior or not. You probably don't want to tell people if you are, but I
Definitely
think
not.
that's pretty good against warrior. And I think it's all. I think his turbo list was built to also beat warrior if he decides to go turbo route. And I think he wins most turbo mirrors off being himself. So I mean, I don't put him as like negative chances versus you, even if you're on warrior or something. I
No,
mean,
I think we'd be a. To be honest, I think we're a pretty even match. Personally, even if he's better, quote unquote, than me, it doesn't
yeah,
really matter if I just have a
right. I
better
mean,
deck or more
this
experience
is
or
you,
more
yeah.
play, right, and all that stuff. Yeah. So, but regardless, I have him. Even if he loses to me or beats me, whatever happens, I still have him in the top eight for day two. Period. I think he's a super strong player. He's been, he even if he doesn't play a lot, he does put in the work for the tournaments he does play. So yeah, I definitely think he's got a strong chance of making day two.
Yeah. Next up is his own teammate Anthony Alvarado. He won an FLC on Chaos Return. Um, he won SJC Charlotte in 2005, and he earned his invite for this year off of Patreon World Championship qualifier.
Yeah, got second place in that event. He did.
Yeah, he's an incredibly strong player. I mean, anyone who's all the Overdose members are good players. Um, I put him as being, he has to play against Dale round one, so I don't know who will win between that. I think that's his hardest round, so that I can see from like what'll happen.
Yeah, he's in that
Um,
bracket that's not fun to play in, so it's kind of
yeah, at
annoying
all.
for him.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, he's in a spot where he could either go on a run in winners and then make top eight, or be in losers very early. I do think he could still win a bunch in losers, but if you go in losers round one, there's very few players I'm going to pencil in as having the potential to make it all the way to top eight. Um,
but Anthony's one of those
he
I
he
would
can
give.
he is definitely one of those people I would put in that position. He's been putting in a lot of work the last couple months, so I definitely think he's a player. Again, we said this about some people and not others, but he's a player that I think has a hard bracket. But he's also a player. If I see in top eight, I'd be like, "Yep, that makes sense."
Yeah, for sure. Next up is Gibbonation Matthew Gibson. Um, he won his off of Obelisk 9. He got top 64 at Nationals in 2019. He's a good player. I don't put him as like being negative matchup against Jago, but he's going to lose to whoever wins with Anthony or Dale. I just feel like he's going to. Um, he's not as like he's a very strong player. But he's not as well versed in Go as they are. He's not the kind of player they come from this era themselves, and so they've got 16 years of experience in Goat format.
I agree. I 100%
Um,
agree with that. His bracket's super
Yeah.
difficult. I don't see him
So
coming out of that one.
yeah, it's going to be very tough for him. Like being objective.
Yeah.
Um, again, he
Everyone,
might also just lose to Jago. Jago is one of the Italians.
yeah,
He's one of
and a warrior Italian too, and that Chaos
yeah
Turbo deck that Gib plays or likes to play too
yeah.
can be
Gib will not
extremely
play
weak to that.
anything but Chaos Turbo. He thinks Chaos Turbo is the best deck, and that's all he'll play.
Which
So
is fair. It's a good deck. It's super
it
strong.
is, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't disagree that it's the best deck. But he's one of those like if you're not playing the best deck, you're playing the worst deck, and so he just won't play anything but Turbo. And I think that could do him in against Jago. And even if it doesn't, then Dale or
Sorry about
Anthony
that.
is
Yep.
gonna.
It's definitely a hard bracket. I want to make a quick shout out to his team, Come Up Collectibles. He's very open in the community for Facebook and for selling cards. And then I also want to make a separate
Yeah, it's
shout
also a
out.
cool guy in general.
Yeah, Coop, super cool guy. I want to make a separate shout out for him and Shogun Lopez for both being nurses. I'm myself a nurse, and it's a super daunting task and has been for the last couple of years specifically. Shout out to them. Let's move on.
Dingo Sig, he plays
Oh,
Chaos Return. He
love
has a
Dingo.
Shining Angels, a Roulette Barrels main. He plays 2 Return, 3 Solemn. He's been playing the same list forever. Um, he got first place in the 3v3 alongside Wawa and Lucas.
Yep, that was a
Um,
strong event. He's got a couple other tops too in with that deck. That's definitely his bread and butter deck. He expanded the last couple months on other decks. Didn't have as much results,
yeah, but I
but
think
he
he's
does
going to
have
come back to
results.
Return for Worlds. I think Return of Dimension is going to be a card that's in the winning deck. If
It's
not,
yeah,
at
his
least
deck
some of the
is.
top 8 decks.
I actually really like his deck. If you put him in the one of these other bracket, like in the Sparky SDL Killer bracket, I actually think
Yeah,
his deck because his deck is the vein of Warrior's existence. So many
yeah,
walls, so many
he destroyed you
recruiters.
in 3v3, didn't he?
Yes, he destroyed me twice in tournaments because I can't stop the so many walls. He's got Zing Lock,
Yeah,
Solemns. Like it's just so annoying to play against that deck, and it's so strong against Warriors. Even in his own bracket, if he can get past Crashvolt and maybe beats KP or if Two Pal wins and matches up against me, I don't want to play him. He knows like if I am on Warriors and I'm playing him and I've lost him every single time on Warriors, every single time. So if I do go that route and he plays that deck, I've never beat him on that. That's not fun.
yeah.
So
So
he's yeah. I don't
I
I
give
don't
him
have
pretty good
him.
chances actually.
I actually I give him good odds of winning his first round matchup. I'm not sure about his second round matchup against KP.
Right.
I he
But
is
even then,
yeah
going to losers in round 2 is a lot better than going there in round 1.
100%. He also got top 8 at the Clash of Champions. So he's definitely knows how to play with some of the better players. So
Yeah,
I'm not going to throw him out. I don't think he's a person I would put in for winning the event, but I definitely think he has a potential to make top 8.
yeah. All right. So next up is Saad Ramadan, Too Fresh. I don't know anything about this guy at all.
Okay.
He's an American. Uh, it doesn't say he has any other accomplishments, but he
No,
does have a second place at.
go for him at 13. Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't have other accomplishments in his bio. He actually got second place at the FLC right after that, which is 20.
Oh, really?
He got back-to-back second places, lost to Michelle Cimino, and then lost to Artsen. So he lost to two
Mm,
Italian players. Those were
yeah.
basically the only decks he played. He played Chaos Warrior. He's a very prominent person in the Goat for Money Facebook chat and plays a lot there. Yeah, there's not. He's a very wild man. He likes to just go hard. Like he's the type of player who will just slam monsters left and right and just say have cards or you lose, and he just goes
Oh,
hard.
so he's AJT.
Yeah, he just giver, just goes hard. I don't like his chances of winning the tournament, but again, he's also in that bracket
With
against
Faye.
Faye and
Faye could win without trying, or Faye could break and lose. I don't.
exactly.
His round 1 is not up to him.
No, and I mean to be fair, Warriors have probably one of the better matchups against
Yeah, because you
Library
can
if we can
aggress him
go
super hard.
first. Exactly, we can aggressive super hard, have Solemns and Dust Tornadoes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that other than that, not a player I'm going to consider too far for me personally.
Next up will be Arts one as well. Um, the Italian that he lost to.
Yeah, super good looking gentleman too. If you're looking at his
Yeah,
profile
it's
picture,
like movie star, dude.
yeah, he just appeared out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure he used to play. He plays in his own area, but he doesn't play a lot of online
Yeah,
tournaments. He
yeah.
just
The first time
appeared.
that I knew Arts won from the ladder. I don't think I ever played against him on the ladder, but I always saw his name up there really high. And then he just pulled up to a Goat Format Championship in the FLC one day and was like,
Yep.
he just decided to play. I
Won
think he's super good.
won the GFC 13 and then almost won back-to-back GFCs in 14 and lost actually in the grand
Yep.
finals. So that's pretty crazy to go back-to-back GFCs. So based on that and with Chaos Control and let's take a look at his bracket. Where's Artson? Oh, against Juwan and then Petran, Taz. So I I do think he has the potential to be a top 8 player. I just don't like how many hard matchups are early with Petran,
Right.
Taz, and Ghost Rider. Um, so would I be surprised if he made it to top 8? No. But do I like his chances with how difficult that bracket can be? And especially on Chaos Control, his build, I think Ghost Rider, Petran, and Taz all are in a decently solid spot. So I don't like his chances of making top 8. But again, not a person or a person that if I saw in the top 8 wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Next up is Blave, Bao, Young Sexy MF. Um,
Oh, nice.
he's a really strong player. He got from his invite from a Dylan Book ladder. He's actually topped the ladder. He was top on the ladder before we started giving invites for it. Um,
Yeah, he likes to
so
switch
he's
accounts a lot.
yeah. So yeah, he's been like back to back in the top four of the ladder multiple times, and I don't give him the absolute greatest chances of getting to top eight. I think he's a really strong player, but against all other players that he's against, like let's look at his bracket here. He's got to play against where's his name? I just had it. Oh, Wing Zero, Fusion Bit. I think I give him the best chances out of all four of those names
Agreed.
for the round 1 and 2. But then he's moving into Sparky or Carl, SGL Killa, one of them.
Yeah, and I don't like his odds against any of those players personally.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
agree.
again, if you win your first 2 rounds, that puts you in a solid spot in losers to make a run for that top 8 spot. Um, just
Yeah,
another name. I wouldn't pencil him in for top 8, but if he was there, I'd be like, okay,
right.
sure. But I'm not. I don't think he'll make top 8 personally.
Yeah. Next up is LaBounty, Jonathan LaBounty, winner of SJC Washington DC 2007, first place FLC 18, and he won the first Academy Obelisk tournament to get his invite with
Yes,
Chaos Warrior. So he made history there in the GOAT community
first
with the
ever.
Academy.
Y-
Um,
Yeah, that event too. Actually, he actually lost in winners round 1 and had to win every single match, and then win
yep,
back to back in grand finals. He's also won FLC 18 with Warriors. Has been known to play Turbo and other decks too, but all of his
he is.
wins are
As far
on
as I know,
Warrior.
he's the CEO of Warrior Inc.
Yeah,
I've referred to him before. Um,
he's great. He's one of the storied players again of Yu-Gi-Oh. Super good. He's definitely a person that I have going to top 8. I actually have him for me personally winning his bracket over Reclar and moving on to potentially being a top 8 for me.
yeah, I can definitely see that happening. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Up next is James Ark. James Ark is a monster of a player, actually. He doesn't have a great history in tournaments. He got some pretty bad luck there. But he is like, in Edison format on Format Library, he's got like one of the most insane records. He has super deep knowledge of the game. Like um, he just knows that stuff really well.
He's definitely a very,
Um,
very strong technical player and knowledgeable
yeah,
player.
absolutely. I very rarely see James Ark misplay. Um,
Unfortunately, though, like you were saying earlier, he's one of the players in this bracket. There's a couple other players that are alongside him that just struggle in tournaments. I'm not sure. Some of it's luck, some of it's maybe just picking the wrong deck at the wrong time for the wrong tournament, because
right,
that happens. Sometimes you can play your deck incredible and make no mistakes. It was just the wrong pick for that tournament, so that happens.
absolutely.
He's one of the best, if not the best, um, ladder player of the last,
Yeah, yeah.
since
He got his invite.
inception.
He got his. first invite from the ladder.
Yes, and technically he would have got a second one if you were allowed to have alts. He actually was top 4 again in the last one. He also had his decree chaos control deck that he got top 4 GFC 14 with. So
Yep.
again, I actually, if we look at his bracket, I actually like it. It's definitely winnable.
He has
There's
to play against Pui round 1, which again, if she's on Panda Burn and he's on Chaos
Turbo or
Control, which I doubt
something,
he will
yeah,
be.
or
He
Turbo
doesn't like
even.
Chaos Control very much, actually.
I pick him to be on like Warrior or Turbo for me personally.
Yeah.
And if it's Turbo, then that could be a dicey matchup. If it's Warriors, he could just cruise.
It could just be free.
Yeah. But I mean,
Depending.
again, all these people in his bracket, I would, if I had to
Yeah,
choose
his
someone to win
bracket
his
is very
bracket,
difficult.
I have him. Like they're all good players, but I still think Arc is probably the pick out of those
Yeah, I
seven.
think I think he's going to getting to round 3 out of these 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. So with that being my basis of knowledge, do I think he can top 8? Yes.
I do
Do I?
think I think he
Yeah.
can. I think he can. I think that if he doesn't, it'll just be the same tournament bad luck he's been getting.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like a losers round 1 to Poi and literally just like picking the wrong deck. Let's just say he picks Turbo and he then loses because the matchup is just unfavorable for him and loses,
Yeah,
and then he can't make the run through losers. It'd be like, oh, does he have the potential to make top 8? Yeah, it's just maybe just pick the wrong deck at the wrong time. But
sure.
definitely a guy I would have penciled in for the top 8 for day 2.
All right, Mark MPS, member of your team,
Yes,
a
that is
very
me.
classic O tour.
Yes, another. He just like Ark. He has trouble. He's had trouble in tournaments for years now. But he has been able to study that a bit. Not only did he win the 3v3 event with myself and Lucas and get top 4 in the other 3v3 event with myself and FTS, he got second place in the most recent GFC. Um, Having a really good run and then only losing in
Yeah,
finals. So he's definitely put some of those qualms to bed a bit, but he is a very famous O2 player, including last year at Worlds where he did the
yeah.
same
I was just about
thing.
to say last year at Worlds, he also.
Bracket is hard. That is just his bracket is definitely not the most enjoyable to be in. Having to
I
play.
don't think I don't think his racket is that bad other than Geist and Delinquent. You know, like we were talking about. You know,
Yeah, but I mean
Wiggum could
he's been having a lot
Ivan
of success
Rosito.
on
But
Turbo, so if he does decide to go that route of Turbo, do you really want to play a Warrior player round 1? No. And then on top of that,
we don't know that Chief Wiggum's going to play Warriors.
no, we
So
don't. But we're going on assumptions, and assumptions are that he would play the deck that he's been playing for months now, including winning Oklahoma in January and winning the luxury event in August, both on Warriors. So if he does stick to Warriors, it's not it's an annoying matchup for Turbo. If Mark goes Turbo, Mark has been known to play flip chaos
yeah,
to
yeah, he played
play
that last year's
yeah, like
Worlds.
he will definitely he's definitely an innovator himself. So and if you want to talk about one of the smartest players in the game, he's up there. But again, you wig him into Rosito, who he's been losing to, delinquent guys. Like it's just not a favorable matchup. I'm going to put him in the category of do I think he wins this bracket ish? No, but if
No.
he's in top 8, I'd be like, yep, okay,
Yeah, I think Mark's a very strong player. Mark was a good player back in 2017 when we played together, and he's only improved since.
perfect. Yeah, I agree.
Next up, Delinquent. Known for playing all kinds of nonsense. He's a very famous empty jar player, but he hasn't played it recently. Um, he won FLC 17 with his zombie deck with Decree that just ran everyone down, including myself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true. You were one of his early wins that he went up and won
yeah,
the
I was
finals
actually on
with
a
him.
very good run that event, and then he flipped Skill Drain on me, and Chaos Control cannot win through that card, and then I
Yeah,
lost to Turbo.
don't worry. Warriors can't
Uh,
either. Go do it. Skill drained recruiters is not fun for Warriors either.
yeah, so
Yeah.
um,
So he's
definitely,
kind of you know what's funny? He's kind of the opposite of like an Arc in the sense of like I would probably put James Arc in the sense of like being more technical, sound, and like a stronger, super strong player than
yeah.
Delinquent.
James Ark
But
is a
but
technical
Delinquent
player who
brings the
is
right deck at the right
right.
time, and he just wins.
Yeah,
He's
every
one
time. But
one
Delinquent doesn't
yeah.
even always like. I mean, he plays well for sure. Like he's not a bad player
No, he's a
by
really
any
strong
stretch.
player.
He's absolutely ridiculously good. But he also doesn't always play as consistently well. I've noticed as someone like James, but he always innovates the best deck for the
Yep.
event that he can
Yep.
bring.
And again, one of the few GFC and FLC champion. So I have absolutely no idea what he's going to bring. I couldn't even make an
Oh no, you
assumption
can never know.
because the guy plays different decks all the freaking time. So he to me he has one of the best surprise factors, especially with this event being locked watcher passwords, and you're not going to be able to get information as easy as you want to.
Yeah.
He is just a scary opponent. You just do
Hmm.
not want to play him. I for sure like could easily pencil him in for a top 8. Unfortunately, he's got Geist or Juve, Geist maybe, that goes right against him, so that could be a hard matchup. But even if he loses that matchup, boom, the guy could just be in top 8, no problem.
Yeah.
I would put him in the top 8.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Matt Uber, who plays a Stein Reasoning Gate list. Um, I actually don't like his deck very much. I don't really like his chances either, personally. Um,
I would have to agree with you. I've played him multiple times. I even just recently beat him back to back in the Patreon playoffs with a deck that is really bad against this type of deck. I was playing CC main deck Degree, which is just horrendous against Stein Reasoning Gate, and I was able to win both games. But again, he beat me in that same tournament in the winter semifinals because his deck just sacks. His deck is hard because it plays multiple different levels. Like against Reasoning Gate, normal Reasoning Gate deck, calling 4 or 8 or 6 if you have
yeah.
a lot of traps is pretty common. But his deck plays SERP and 2s and 4s and 6s and
Hmm.
7s, plays everything. Calling the right card is impossible, which gives him a huge advantage, and he'll just win off of one Megamorph equipped to his card. So
Yeah.
it's just not a person that I have a hard time saying is going to go far personally for me. His bracket, I would have Chopper and AJ both winning against Uber Arc.
Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking he does it. But he is a person that I would put into the category if he was into the top 8 day 2 because he just had a sick run in losers or whatever, or his deck was just insane. Because that's the type of deck it is where it could just draw insane and you don't even stand a chance. I wouldn't be surprised, but he's not a person I would put in the top 8.
Yeah. Next up is Reclar, last year's champion. I put him going to top 8, absolutely. Like, he was one of my first picks for top 8. I think he's one of the strongest players in this tournament.
I agree. If he's put in the time, which I've heard that he has been putting in some time.
Yeah, he has not played any tournaments lately, but well, he played the FLC apparently. But yeah, I think he's got what it takes. So I don't think he's lost anything the past year. I think he's just been practicing in private because he knew he had his invite secured from winning, and he had no reason to enter all these events.
Agree. I have him beating basically anyone. The only one is maybe if has to play LeBounty in round 3 or something, or if he is
Right.
on a
Yeah.
turbo build and he plays against a warrior player like Krebs or something, and he could lose. But other than that, I definitely have him in the top 8, and I
It,
definitely think he's a
I also
potential
have
winner.
him. Even if he does lose like that, going through a losers bracket,
Agree.
I don't doubt it.
Agree. And a potential winner, not just a top 8 or a potential winner.
Yeah, back to back would be
Yeah.
insane. I don't think he'll back to back. I think there's a lot of crazy players this year.
Yeah. Agree.
Um,
Number 5,
SDL
SDL
Killer.
Killa, one of the
Um,
strongest warrior players of all time. Team
yeah,
Rampage. Got his invite right off the bat in the first event, second place when he lost to Bakura in Go format. He also has multiple FLC tops and GFC tops.
yep.
Super strong player. His bracket is kind of annoying in the sense of he has to play either another Warrior Mirror, which Warrior Mirrors can be insane, or play one of his teammates. But on the flip side to this, if he
If he has to
wins
play
that
Carl, then it's
round,
probably Turbo.
exactly, and if he wins that round, I have him going straight to qualified. I think
Yeah, absolutely. SDL
yeah,
Killer is like really good. I was
insanely
joking about him
good.
yesterday. Like I was saying, like SDL Killer would. I what was that I said? I asked how many people were in Worlds, and someone said 56. So I was like, oh yeah, he's probably top 50 then. But he's actually like incredibly strong.
Yes, I agree.
And
I'm gonna have him top 8 for sure in mine. I just
all
like his
right, next
bracket
up is
too.
Ghost Rider, also another Team Rampage member. A lot of these up here in the top seeds,
Yep.
they get tons of wins and tops in these tournaments. Ghost Rider only plays Turbo though. I've never seen him play anything else.
Yeah, he basically only plays that. He unfortunately played really well all year. He has the most tops of any player this whole year,
Yep,
but he has
and no
zero
wins.
wins. None were able.
Um,
He always just lost.
yeah, it's like that for a lot of. I'd give. Yeah, I'd rather have nonstop topping, nonstop tops than one big win. But I mean, so I don't really I don't feel bad for him in that sense because he's got the
No,
tops he
he's
needs.
got a lot of tops, super strong player. He's actually gotten a lot better over the year. Like I found how
Mhm.
he's played before versus how he plays now is a lot stronger. His
Yeah,
bracket is actually decently good. I like his first round matchup between Duck Duck and Skinny. I think that should be decently like I would be very,
yeah,
very surprised if he lost. And then
hmm
his second round could be a little bit more dicier because Petran, Taz,
yeah,
Artston,
exactly.
maybe
Those are both
Ewan.
really good
But if
players.
he does win that, yeah,
I don't put Ghost Rider top 8 immediately. He's honestly, I think he's a good player. I don't put him immediate top 8.
I agree with that. I put him in the could top 8, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I also have
Also
him.
put him in the 0-2 and could,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
yeah.
That's where I put him.
Next up is Alephia 2. He sacked me in the Debilito 100, and
Super strong player.
he's a really good player though. I wouldn't be Alephia is just like delinquent. He pulls up with random stuff.
Yep.
Um, he'll probably become up. He'll probably come to this event with 2 Pete in the Dark Clown in his deck and win
Yeah, agreed.
just to
He's a
mess with people.
super strong player. He's got a bunch of tops. In like one block. Like he went back to back of like a top at a GFC, a top in a FLC, and then a first place in the Dale Bledo, and he's playing
Yeah, I
random
put
shit the whole
Alephia getting
time.
top 8. Honestly, I think he's actually better than his brother.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. Okay, yeah, nice. His bracket
yeah,
again. His bracket is the one you want to be in. If you're looking at a bracket and
yeah,
going, man, can I make it to winners round 4 like decently easy
yeah.
or as easy as,
Yeah,
as it gets? Then he's the guy. And if that's the case, then you can just
he'll make
pencil him
it
in
for
for
sure.
for top 4. So I'm gonna or top 8. I'm gonna put him. I would pencil him in as top 8 player.
Yeah. Next up is you.
Oh, is it me next? Oh wow.
Yeah, it's you next. We're on seed number 2. There's only one person better than
Perfect.
you.
Another lifted research group member. I got first place I won my event against Petran in Format Library 16. I won FLC 21 and the 3v3 with Lucas, who's the first seed, and Mark MPS, who's the 10th seed. So again, it's I would consider Lifted Research to be a super strong team. Um, Other than that, if you want to look at me as a whole player, I have tops on Warriors. I have tops on Chaos Control. I actually played the whole middle of the season on Chaos Control, just because why not? I already had an invite, and I wanted to see how good I could do with a quote unquote skill deck. And
Yeah.
I got a top, an invite. I got 2 invites. The 3v3 event I won on it, and I won the Patreon playoffs on CCE. And I got a top of the FLC with CC. So I was pretty happy with that. My bracket, I think my bracket is okay. Like I
I
like I
put you personally. I put you as getting top 8 because the only I think the only danger for you in your bracket is Chris or Dingo Sig if he beats
Yeah,
Chris.
that's what I was gonna say. My bracket, if we're going on the thing that I do play Warriors, I think Dingo could be a hard bracket a matchup for me, and Chris Perovic is again one of the greatest of all time, so that's kind of a hard match. But I do think even if I lose to Chris Perovic, I still think I'm gonna make day 2 personally.
All right, and finally, last but not least at all, Lucas.
Lucas, who you could
Probably
call one of the most
Lucas is
unfair
my pick
players.
to win this event.
Yeah, he's a lot of people's picks to win this event. It's actually
He has
absurd
done
how
so
many
well.
invites he has. It's actually insane. When you look at the fact that someone like, Ghost Rider hasn't won an event, and then there's players like Slash Tap who played a lot of events, got super close to an invite so many times, don't copy, same thing, and this guy just kept invite after invite after invite. He can't lose. He just
Yeah,
can't.
it looks like he has 8 invites.
Yes, 8 invites plus 7 seed points is one of the greatest
Yeah,
players of all time. Even not even this year, back in 2018 and 17, he was one of the best players. Um,
being really strong then.
Seed number 1, his bracket is super difficult, but even without that,
He
even if
also has the bye
yeah,
though.
he also has to buy it. Even if you go with the consideration of, do you think he's gonna win the event? No, but if you look at how many freaking tops this guy, his top percentage is absurd. You gotta
Yeah,
pencil this guy in for top 8,
he's
and he's
100% getting top 8. Lucas is not leaving without a top 8
yes,
spot. Probably top 4. I think
100%.
he has everything it takes to win this event.
And a player you can't read because he's got tops on Turbo, Chaos Control,
Exactly.
Turbo into CC, Warriors, everything. He plays it all. He's good at it all. There's a
Yep.
reason why he's the number 1 seed. With that, we're going to move to the end of the podcast. Um, Basically, I just want to shout out Go Format for letting us do the podcast for them, and for Cam here to make time so we could pump out this podcast for everyone. Other than that, I just want to shout out my team LRG, and we're ready for Worlds.
All right. Well, this has been a pretty good podcast. We've gotten over a lot of players. No offense to anyone we said probably wouldn't go far. It's nothing against you. It's just trying to look
Agreed.
at it
Agreed.
objectively.
Everyone's
Um,
great. Everyone earned their invite.
yeah, and good luck to everyone in this event. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Perfect. Bye.
See you.